gentlemen, friends, foes, lurkers, regulars, GMO people, organic people.
Boiler room, inbound. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Boiler Room. We're broadcasting live here on YouTube. We're broadcasting live on Rockfin. We're live at Spreaker.com and, of course, at AlternateCurrentRadio.com. The show page is out, so if you want to share that around on the interwebs, feel free. Just go to Alternate Current Radio, and you'll find it up there in the main front side of the web page there. You can't miss it. Welcome. It is midterm election day. It is November 8th. We're broadcasting live out of Central Texas, and it looks like the polls are going to close in about, I think they close at 9 p.m. out here, and I have gathered a very special Boiler Room crowd for you tonight. We may have some of our colleagues and friends coming and going as we work our way through the evening here. We did a lot of coverage over there at TNT today at TNT Radio, so tntradio.live if you want to go check out those archives over there. Today on my show, and we played this just before we came in tonight, replayed my interview with Greg Stenstrom. He's the author of Parallel Election, and he called in live doing his job out there as a poll watcher in Pennsylvania. And pretty stark review of what is going on out there in Pennsylvania from Greg. He and his co-author Leah Hoops, their book is it really shines a light on what happened in Pennsylvania. And what I learned on that interview today was that the same thing is happening right now as we speak. It was happening during the day. He was there on the ground talking to lawyers, talking to other poll watchers, collecting evidence, doing the same stuff that they did last time around. So it's pretty crazy what they have uncovered and what they've done with their book Parallel Election and what's currently going on there. Well, I'm going to get into that with some of you folks, but I want to bring in the rest of the team before we do that. We may be joined, I think Chopper might be joining us and Patrick Henningsen might be joining us. So, and forgive me if I'm looking around like a madman in the camera here. I'm just trying to track all the bouncing balls and make sure I've got my eye on everything over here because, hosting, producing, live streaming at the same time. But without further ado, let's see who's here tonight. Boom, there's our group. We've got Infidel Pharaoh over there. Infidel, welcome to the midterm live stream. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing fantastic, man. It's a great day, and I want to tell you and everybody, this is my first time voting as I'm a legal citizen now, and I casted my first ballot.
All right. Yeah.
Hey, Infidel.
Nice, man. So how long did that take for anyone that's not familiar with you? What was the start to finish timeline for becoming a full-on U.S. citizen?
I came here 2005 and I became citizen 2022.
Wow.
So 17 years.
Wow, man. Wow. So, yeah, I'm not even going to ask you how it feels to know that like 50,000 people just walked over the border in the last couple months. I have a feeling I know what you would say.
I know, and I think immigration is a big topic, and especially on the border states, Arizona and Texas.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll see some changes in Arizona coming tonight.
Oh man, I know. I got my hopes on for Carizona. All right.
Arizona.
Yeah, man. Thanks for being here tonight. All right, up next, we've got independent researcher and journalist CC Woods from thecurrentreport.com. CC, what's up? Welcome to the show.
I'm so glad to be here with you guys on Boiler Room. This is like a total nighttime gig for me.
Yeah.
I get to see Jill and Adam, my peeps. I love it. And I get to meet Infidel. I love it. It's so good. It's so good. I'm happy to be here with you guys.
Yes.
We're so stoked to have you.
Thank you. I'm a little in a tizzy tonight over the numbers already, and I'm on Pacific time, which is like really bad. So
yeah, well, you've been up late. We've been just constantly. We didn't
Yeah.
even get much of a weekend because we've been trying to keep up
Right.
with all these things as they
Yeah.
develop. So
Yeah.
yeah. Well, this is the fun part, blow off a little
Yeah.
bit of steam here in the boiler room, see if we
Love it.
can shine a light on some of the strange anomalies and the goods, the bads. We'll see what we can get through tonight. But yeah, thanks for being here. And everybody, thecurrentreport.com. That's where you find CC on the interwebs. And of course, on the
Mhm.
Brian McLean Show in the third hour, Monday through Friday, on TNTradio.live. Shout out to all our TNT friends over there. All right, we've also got, there's a ruckus among us. We've got the host of the Daily Ruckus and the co-host of Joseph Arthur and his Technicolor Dreamcast second hour down there. Ruckus, what's up? Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Howdy, I should say. Jeez. What am I thinking? Elections, the hour changed, the blood red eclipse that we had, everything's throwing me off, man.
Oh, man.
Amen.
How about that hour change? Thanks for joining us, CC. Did you have to do that, by the way? Did you have an hour change too?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, yesterday morning, so with TNT, so the mothership, as I affectionately call corporate, in Australia, they're like, oh yeah, you got to turn your clocks back and you got to turn the show back and this is happening and that's happening. I'm like, huh? What are you talking about? Like, we don't really have to do that, right? Well, it turns out that we turn our clocks back and Australia doesn't. So our shows on Australian time is an hour before. Well, Brian and I we didn't comprehend that. And I didn't, I still like it. They were trying to drill it into my head. I'm like, I still don't get it. I still don't get it. The PR people that we deal with, that we have guests on the show, they're like, huh? What? Why would it be an hour back? Like, we still function on the same time as Pacific time, like an Eastern time. I'm like, I swear to God, like that's really what's happening right now. So I email Brian in the middle of the night because I have crazy hours. I just sleep that way. Anyway, so I get up in the middle of the night. I'm like, call me when you get up. So he calls me and I'm like, yeah, this is happening. He goes, what, huh? You mean my show is in 20 minutes? I'm like, yeah, that's what's happening. So, and then all the PR people are like going, why do we have to change it back an hour? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah. So that's the hour change. And that has nothing to do with the blood moon eclipse. Okay. The only one in 246 years that we have that we will never see again in our lifetime. Like, that happened today. All of that energy is like it's historic energy. Like, we're never going to see this again. So pay attention, people.
Mm-hmm. Well, I missed the blood moon, but thanks to your kerfuffle and your experience with Hesher, Brian,
my woo woo,
I was able to discover early enough in the day how that affected the TNT schedule, because there was no emails sent to me,
right?
No, personally, no warning. But that's fine. I could understand why, and I found out later why. Maybe they thought this wouldn't affect me. Maybe they didn't leave me out on purpose or anything. Maybe they just thought, hey, because I'm the co-host of Joseph Arthur and
Yes.
Technicolor Dreamcast. So a funny thing happened on the way to the time change. Apparently, Joseph Arthur, his time zone doesn't change. So,
oh wow.
I seriously worried him, concerned him. He was one confused boy that day because he had everyone else around him.
Oh, that is not
insisting
fun.
that everything was like an hour early, when for him absolutely nothing changed. And I'm just like, wow, lucky to be you, because we're all freaking confused over here.
Right.
I still have trouble wrapping my head around this. I was thinking about it. I'm like, but we fell back an hour, but now it's an hour early. Isn't that like 2 hours? My head was like, I just couldn't get this at all. And so I realized it like this. I thought of it like this. Okay, like let's say if because we have that little break over the weekend, but if the shows were literally every day, the last show before the time change, so let's say whatever time that is, X time, 24 hours from that the following day, just like every other 24 hours in between the show, happens to now fall on a time that is now reflected on our clocks at an hour earlier than it was before the change. So I was like, okay, now I get it. But then I realized, oh my God, this whole idea of keeping track of time and changing these hours is complete, utter bullshit. So
Right?
I am totally on board them ending this for good, and I know there's plenty of talk of that going on. Also, this really fucked with I do a lot of copy and pasting stuff on my social media and the announcements that I put on the Discord and all of this stuff, and it was all like daylight time, MDT, CDT,
Oh,
EDT.
wow.
Now I had to go find all of my copy paste stuff, replace them with the hour earlier, and then replace all the D's with S.
Oh
Because
my God.
because it's standard time now, right? See?
Well, I have to
I'm
tell
like,
you, so the only way I figured any of this out was I said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to wake up and I'm going to look at the studio calendar, which is the calendar that we have with the mothership, right? With TNT. So I woke up and I looked at it and then I compared it to the time and I went, holy shit, we are an hour behind. I'm like, I better email Brian or we're screwed. And then I hadn't even notified any of our guests that were on that morning. Thank God. Like they were like, oh, they're good. Like they figured like everybody's all messed up because of daylight savings. But everybody's going, but why are we changing it like an hour back? And I'm like, you guys don't understand. Aussie doesn't change their time, which means we go back an hour, which means everything else goes back an hour for them. I mean, stays the same for them, but goes back an hour for us. So anyway, whatever.
Right. It's
Sorry,
a
guys.
mess. And
It was a
having
mess.
and having states like Arizona makes it even messier because I almost emailed Patrick and was like, dude, this show's gonna be so early. And then I realized he's in the same state as Joseph, and I was really glad that I didn't send that email.
And you know what? The mothership doesn't understand how this really fucks with our shit. They just don't understand it because they stay the same. They don't have to change anything. I was like, oh, damn, this is so not good. Jill, you're way too quiet over there.
All right. Well, speaking of, let's complete the circle here, and we will welcome my lovely co-host over here in the boiler room, the one, the only, the very lovely, the curator of all things Whiskey Tango Foxtrot on the interwebs. Lovely Spore, welcome to the show. That was a crazy morning when we were sitting there having our morning tea, and then Cece called with that message, wasn't it?
I know. Yeah, that was crazy. It was like, wow, it was a good thing you got up when you did and that you were ready. You prepared the night before because it was like 20 minutes, you're on. It was like, oh wow. It wasn't even just like okay, today's gonna be different. It's like, okay, it's like half the year is gonna be different now. Like you gotta readjust your whole schedule for the next half year. So, but right on for you, catching that CC, and right on for you, Hesher, for being available and prepared to make that happen on time. So
yeah, totally.
I was a bad producer because Jenny was like, our mothership was like, you should already understand this. This is you're a producer and you should know this. And I'm like, huh, what? Okay. Like,
this is calculus. This is calculus. Sorry, we don't.
I mean, it's kind of amazing that the Google Calendar just flipped it. It was like all of a sudden it's like, oh,
Google Calendar is still on our time.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I had to move everything back in the Google Calendar.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay, so hey, Spore, send me that link for
I think I put in your Skype there.
Okay, great. I got it. So opening article for tonight. Let's get on it. What are we breaking the ice with tonight, lovely Spore?
Okay, so the title of this article is Wheelchair Using Woman Identifying as Disabled Divides the Internet. So the story of a non-disabled transgender woman who identifies as disabled has divided social media. I'm going to give you a long story short here. Basically, this person that was born as a male identified as a woman, and since elementary school identified as a disabled person. And then so I'm going to give a quote from this person. Her name is Geronde Victoria. She's 53, and this is I believe she's in Norway. She said, "My heart pounded, my pulse increased, and I was activated in my body. I was incredibly focused on him and what it was all about." Oh, this is when she saw a fellow student come in with his legs in a splint and on crutches. So she saw this in elementary school, and this is how her reaction was. Her heart pounded, her pulse increased and activated her body. She was incredibly focused on him and what it was all about. Now she recognizes that she identifies as a disabled person and uses a wheelchair. So she one day came home to her wife in a wheelchair, but has no reason to use a wheelchair other than that it makes her feel comfortable because she identifies as a disabled person.
Wow. So the identifying as things you're not, it just gets more and more bizarre. Wow. So you know what? What occurs to me here, you guys? There was of kind of a big case. It kind of made a lot of news a year or two ago. I'm not sure exactly, but there was. I think it was in Florida, a Florida man story. Some of you may remember this. Florida man was outside of a liquor store and he saw someone pull up and park in the handicap zone. I believe it was a boyfriend girlfriend or husband wife couple, and dude goes into the store to get something, and the Florida man got upset and started yelling at the lady who was in the car who had driven the guy there, and started chewing her out for being in the handicap spot. And an altercation ensued when the guy came out of the store. The guy pushed Florida man. Florida man was somewhat elderly compared to this guy, and Florida man pulled his concealed carry and
I
shot
do
the guy,
remember that.
shot him dead.
Mhm.
So identifying as things is one thing. Identifying as a disabled person when you're not, that is a little bit dangerous because people take that very seriously. I'm not saying I support
Mhm.
Florida man and his tirade, but at the same time, you got to expect to see that, because when it comes to injuries and people that require, that upfront parking and stuff, some of them take it seriously. So
Well,
dangerous.
Geronde Victoria is saying that she is not taking advantage of the privileges of parking spaces and things like that. So she does say that. However, she says that she's just much more comfortable when she feels like her legs are useless and she's in a wheelchair. I think my mother is she's disabled or handicapped or whatever the appropriate term is for that these days. She would be pissed about this, I'm pretty sure, because why would anybody want to have to deal with that if they are capable? If you have working legs and arms, you should be feeling so blessed, because I know how hard it is. And I mean, I've experienced like my mother's difficulties with this as a post polio victim. Um, it's just like, it's like this, I don't know. It's just a weird, I want to look like I need extra help when you really don't need extra help. It's like she doesn't park in this trans woman doesn't park in the handicap spots because she's totally capable of getting up out of her car and walking into the store. But she's riding around on her wheelchair for attention. As far as I can tell, I really don't believe that this is like I was born, like with the mentality of I'm legless.
I'm in the wrong body.
Yeah, I'm in the yeah.
Yeah.
No, she's
Interesting.
desperate for attention. That's clear, like very clear that she's desperate for attention. Why would you want to pretend that you're somebody who needs help, like really needs help, when you don't really need help because you need attention? And it's a slap in the face of the people who really are struggling with disabilities. It's not a good thing. It's very bad, really bad.
But I thought that this was I mean, we just had a lot of weird experiences recently out in the public where it just seems like ever since, I mean, especially since 2020 and the pandemic hit, where the general public is like in a weird sort of zombie like mode where they just do things and they do things for attention, and they are kind of oblivious to everybody else in the world. So, for example, last night, Hesher and I went to the grocery store, and he pulled into a parking spot, and this car next to us was like completely like diagonal in our parking spot. And I go in the grocery store. I didn't allow him to go in because he gets mad sometimes. Because it's so hectic in there and crowded, and people like literally are like, they just don't pay attention to anybody else, you know, and he's just like, it gets him a little irritated. So I was
These
like,
people on
I'll
their
just run
rollers,
in.
they try to run me over with their electric scooters. It makes me
That's
a
like
little
2 times officially that you have
Yeah.
almost been run over by a shaved head, 300-pound person that
That's funny.
it's bad. So I go into the grocery store and I'm in the line waiting, and this woman just like, there's like super long lines, and this woman just comes barreling through with her grocery cart between me and the person behind me. And it was like I had to like skip and jump, to like not get my feet run over. And she was just like, it was just like a tunnel vision. Like she didn't even notice that this, that there were other people around or anything like that. And I go back to the car, and he's still sitting in the car waiting for me. And I get in, and he was like, oh my God, this person that, parked all crazy next to us came out here and like pulled her driver door out and like banged it on our car. And then he describes, it's the same woman. So she like parked it all crazy, and then in the store almost run me over, and then hit my car with her driver door, and didn't even like say sorry or anything. Like she could tell that he was in the car. It's just like people are in this weird zone, and this is our voting public too. I mean, this is like totally, just last night, this is like total regular story for us now, like where it's just like the general public is just like in this sort of like get my Doritos and me and my Diet Coke, and I'm gonna vote whatever the TV tells me to do. And it's really scary.
It is really scary. Like I can't believe Hesher didn't get out of the car and like want to hurt some people.
Oh, he always has the feelings, but he's good at restraining.
I used a lot of forbearance there. She parked so badly, and then she just opened the door, and it wasn't like one of those things where sometimes people would think they're sneaky and they say, "Oh, no one's in that car, and I need the full range of my door, so I'm gonna just pop it up against it a little bit." No, this was like I had the windows down, I had thrash metal blaring out the window. I was listening to Overkill loud, and she just comes up and just bam, just swings that door open, smacks it into the car, and I'm literally like head cocked over my shoulder, just staring at her like, seriously, you're gonna do that to someone listening to Overkill in their car?
And the other crazy thing is that this is a very busy grocery store. Like this is a huge chain out here, HEB, and the parking lot's completely full. And it was just like, what are the chances that we park next to this woman? She almost breaks my ankle and then bangs into my car. And then she also, like, if I remember what you told me last night, Hesh, like she also like almost hit the car when she was pulling out.
Oh
Sherry,
yeah.
Sherry's saying hi. Sorry,
guys. Hey,
Sherry. Sherry's giving me wine.
Right,
and that's
excellent.
Adam, that's Ruckus, and that's Jill. That's Jill.
Hey, Sherry. Good to sort of see you. There she is.
All right, YouTube debut. Yeah. All
All
right. Well, let's see. Infidel, what do you think, man? What do you think about just the general public, the zombification factor there, and then of course the strange identifying as a disabled person when you're not, man?
Wait.
Well, I mean, I think anybody that is faking disability is immoral, I would say. I don't think it's okay. I think I understand if you're trying to fake your gender or you fake your race if you identify as a different race, but faking disability is just I think it's, I have an issues with that. I don't think it's a I don't think it should be a choice Given that there are certain benefits that you get for disability, and you're taking advantage of other people positions, as you said, like something like parking spots, right? This person is going to go and take like a parking spot of actually a real disabled person now. But it's a continuation of this madness of like, hey, I'm self-identifying as whatever the heck it is, and I'm just gonna go with it. I think this madness has to stop.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, it's like, where do you draw the line? I don't know. Ruckus, what about you, man? What are your thoughts on this one?
This is very strange. This is actually okay. So, not that long ago, in a previous life, I was a store manager at a video store, and there was a documentary. I'm pretty sure it was a documentary. So, that's the first thing I'm not 100% sure of, because I went looking for this movie online. I couldn't find it. So, it might have been a fictional thing, but I'm pretty sure it was a documentary. But it was about these people who they literally have limbs removed.
I believe they're called nuggets.
Really? Okay. So
Wait, the removed limb are called nuggets?
Well, it's like
let's not go too far. I think a nugget is
Okay.
something a little bit different, maybe.
Well, it's like
Oh,
when
okay.
when people are attracted to people without limbs, they're attracted to nuggets.
All right. Well,
Okay.
okay. Someone's gonna have to
Ew.
Urban Dictionary that one. I'm not gonna
So
endorse
gross.
that quite yet.
I'm
Wow.
sure we talked about this. Daniel
I
brought it up like 5
Wow.
years ago on Boiler Room, but
All right, I'm going to actually look for nuggets while you guys are talking.
All right.
So, well, that's okay. So, but you're talking about a sexual attraction, right, Spore, to the people without the limbs, right?
yeah,
Basically. Okay.
yeah.
So that's interesting, because in the story about the wheelchair, trans wheelchair identifier, whatever we label this person as, it said in that story they remembered being in elementary school when another student turned up one day with a splint on his leg and crutches. My heart pounded, my pulse increased, and I was activated in my body. I was incredibly focused on him and what this was all about. So that got interpreted into, like, I realized that I wish I had been born a woman who was paralyzed from the waist down. Where does that come from? Maybe it's just this other thing that you're talking about. Maybe they just didn't know that maybe they were like a nugget in training, or
It
like
could be
a
a
pre-nugget.
misdiagnosis, a self-misdiagnosis of identity crisis and nuggetry.
Now,
Did you just say nugget in training?
yeah, like a pre-nugget, I guess.
Pre-nugget.
Well, there's
Padawan
certainly
nugget.
there are people that are have removed limbs to self-identify the way that they supposedly feel in terms of being limbless or nugget.
And actually, doctors are allowed to do that?
Yes.
Doctors,
so this is-
yeah.
This is that other thing. So this is BID. It's called Body Integrity Identity Disorder. The sufferer desires to amputate a healthy limb. And the majority of BID sufferers are middle-aged white men, and the most commonly requested amputation is of the left leg. So this is a thing, and surgeons do, for some reason, perform such surgeries. So
Why
That's
left leg?
outrageous. That's totally outrageous. Like, I can't believe that a doctor who takes an oath is going to say, "Yeah, I'm going to cut off your limb." Like just okay. I'm just going to cut off your healthy limb. And the reason why I even have more of an issue with this is because when I was 25 years old, and I'm double that right now, and a few more years on that, I thought I was pregnant with my third child, and I ran to the doctors and I said, "Tie my tubes, please." Okay. As soon as I knew that I wasn't pregnant, and the doctor looked at me and he said, "You're 25 years old. I don't want to tie your tubes. I really, are you sure you want to do this?" And I said, "Yes, I am." He said, "What if something happens to your children?" And I said, "Nothing's going to replace my kids. So yes, I don't want to have any more children. Tie my tubes." But it was a battle to get him to tie the tubes of a healthy young woman at 25 years old. to cut a limb off of somebody, come on. Like, the ethics of that doctor need to be questioned. Like, he takes an oath. Like, that's not okay. Wait, what is the finger? The finger's
Well,
waving on Adam.
well, I need
Ruckus.
to add my own like fact checker
Please.
context label so you understand. So, however it's still the same type of person. Somewhere down the road, a doctor does this, but it's usually in an underground surgery
Okay.
facility, right?
Get it.
So, but the fact that, I mean, that's not just some kid who's just like, oh, I'm going to learn how to do this on YouTube. No, these are actual surgeons who, just like you, I mean, this is a moral question, I would argue, right? But I mean, so if you want to go out there and do this professionally, you just got to do it illegally. The surgeon doing it is doing so illegally, but it's going to cost you, I'd like to say it's going to cost you an arm and a leg, but it'll just cost you your leg, and anywhere between $6,000 to $25,000 on top of that. So
Okay, but wait a second. What about these people who lose limbs, don't want to lose their limbs? What a shame that those limbs cannot be, at least for the people who voluntarily don't want their limbs, to be able to give them to a person who lost a limb that didn't want to lose their limb. I don't know.
Ooh,
Am I
that's
crazy?
That's
Am
not
I
what they mean
crazy?
when they say organ donor, CC. That's not. what
I know, but I'm just saying. I mean, does it not make sense? Am I being crazy right now?
Oh, they do that with eyes or kidneys, but I would imagine
Right.
if you go into
Hello?
one of these guys
Arms,
and you say, "Hey,
fingers.
could you electively remove my left leg?" There's a good chance they'll probably take your kidney too while you're under.
But the other
not-
thing is that there are certain states where, if a person identifies as a different sex, they're removing their breasts and their penis and things like that, and it's being taxpayer funded. I mean,
Mhm.
it's like, well, okay, we can do it, for this, but not that. It's diabolical, really.
A little bit
Yes.
arbitrary seeming. Infidel, you're about to jump in there. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to say that actually, what the theory I heard about this was actually it's alien causes those dysphorias, and the reason is they want to collect some human specimens. So all those like penises and legs and all that end up in some alien spaceship somewhere.
So those same
Or in your vaccines.
yeah, really could end up getting just injected back into you or your kids. Yeah, so yeah, those aliens that are collecting stuff, huh? That's where all that goes. I see how this works.
Talking about vaccine and transplant and actually donations. Did you hear that actually like blood donors that are unvaccinated is getting really pretty high in demand right now?
I did. Yeah, it's dodgy though the way that they're judging the content, the blood content. But yeah, there's a definite uptick in
There's a market for it, so just
right.
make sure you just
Organic plasma, and organic.
Where did we hear this? I'm curious.
Gonna need a
Didn't we
source.
speak about this 2 years ago?
Yeah, we did before
That our blood is gonna get really expensive at some point of time.
Yeah, before it became news. I did see a headline. I don't have it to hand, but I did see.
Okay, the reason I ask is just last week I found some news and was reporting on it during one of my news briefs on TNT about this very idea okay, see, here's why I'm questioning. I'm not saying that's not true, but I'd like to know where that's coming from, because just not that long ago, from what I gather, is that they don't have any qualifying standards whatsoever. Most blood donor places, they don't ask, they don't care whether or not the donor was or wasn't vaccinated. And they said things like it would be like next to impossible for them to like manage that and keep track of. Oh, please. I mean, come on. Right. But they're like, oh yeah, there's no evidence to show that this is any reason to be concerned. But there are people who are supposedly I noticed there's little like snippets of that article. There were people who were specifically requesting donated blood to be that of those who are unvaccinated, and they were just being told, that's stupid, you're ridiculous, sit down, you crazy anti-science. Besides, we don't do that, we can't keep track of that, that's impossible, you have nothing to worry about. So like, so far as I know, where would they go for that? I mean, because I don't think you can just like, is that going to be another illegal underground black market right next to the amputating this body dysphoria wackos? I mean, I don't know, man. This is just a bit much, dude. So, I think we have a late arriver almost.
Yeah, it looks
Party.
it looks
Oh, no.
like Patrick Henningsen's joining us.
Oh,
Hey, Patrick.
Patrick! Yay!
So good to see you.
Party on.
Yes.
Totally.
Yes,
Oh my
welcome, Patrick. You got here just in time. We just finished off all the weird and creepy stuff, and we're ready to talk elections here. So you are just in time, man.
Right.
How's it going out there in Arizona?
Yeah, it's pretty hairy out here, man. There's a lot
Yeah.
of crazy stuff going on.
Did you see anything firsthand going crazy today, or what have you been up to today?
I'm such a flake. I voted early because with my luck, it would always be something wrong on the day, and my name wouldn't be on the list or something, and I just didn't want to chance it. So I've always had an absentee ballot, so I just voted already. So, but yeah, just kind of monitoring the news and everything that's going on. Yeah, all sorts of problems. I mean, it's just ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. You know, you've got mail-in voting in this state, and everyone's voting early, and then they need longer time to count the ballots. So in America, we vote early so that we can wait longer to find out who won. I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
I was having a total fit earlier, Patrick. I was blowing Brian's phone up. I was having a heart attack over Stacey Abrams because she is Soros backed. Thank God, Sherry, my girlfriend, she just brought me my wine and told me, relax. Stacey Abrams just fell behind. Oh my God, I was having a heart attack. And then Fetterman, like, I think there was, I don't know, really small percentage of the vote in Pennsylvania that had just come in. I'm like, wait a second, you guys are 3 hours ahead. How do you only have like it was 70% Fetterman and 10% Oz? I was like, what?
It's because they count. It's because they count the early voting. They hold them till the day, and those are the first ones that get logged. So the majority of Democrats vote by mail. Surprise, surprise. Because they don't care what happens in the month run up to the election. I mean, John Fetterman could literally drop dead on stage. They'll still have voted for them, and they're quite happy, and they're cool with that. You know, so that's one of the reasons I'm generally against early voting, because it means that you don't get to see the whole campaign, you don't get to see the whole candidate, and also events could happen and candidates could weigh in on it, could be an important issue. And if you've already voted and you've already decided, then like, what's the point? You've lost an opportunity to change your mind. That's the way I look at it. But of course, this isn't the way politics is going in America. It's being designed for polarization. So that's what you're seeing.
You missed the October surprise. The good news is Georgia right now, actually, Walker just took the lead in the Senate. 49 was like 0.8%, and then Kemp is like
okay. So I have
7%.
Sorry to interrupt. I have a thing about Newsom that I saw today. So my girlfriend Sherry sent me a video from Instagram, and this woman said that Newsom didn't even qualify for the general election because he was supposed to submit the last 5 years in taxes, and he did not do that.
Are you serious?
Doesn't surprise me.
Ooh, yeah, I am very serious. And I tell you what, PRA is going in tomorrow morning. I want to see those taxes.
Yeah. Your mic's coming in a bit hot, CC.
Sorry. What did I do? Can you hear me now?
I don't know.
Yeah, we hear you.
My eardrum just blew out.
Yeah, you might want to just pull that gain knob down just a hair.
You're the one who told me to do the gain more. Okay,
you're getting excited. You gotta come. You're talking about Gavin. Gavin's triggered you.
Oh my God.
Gavin's triggered you.
You know what, Patrick? See, Brian knows. Brian knows I get heated when I talk about this stuff.
I know he's a horrible guy. I mean, Newsom, Jesus.
So he did not file his last 5 years. So what do we do about that? Because that means
one of Trump's worst crimes too. Like they're still lambasting Trump for tax things, and the nuisance himself isn't even eligible to run.
Yeah, so we have to look into that.
It's because he made $100 million last year, probably, or last 2 years, or whatever. He's got the same stockbroker as Nancy Pelosi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really.
Hopefully not the same security.
He's got better security, I think.
He doesn't get hammered as much as Paul does, but you know.
So here is what's interesting. So I'm not just looking at the governor and House and Senate. I'm also looking at like AG races. And in Texas so far, the Democrat AG is actually leading the Republican AG.
Yeah. Yeah. We got a big one in Arizona here. The AG race. Abe Hamadeh is very much a Ron Paul style attorney general, constitutionalist, and he's young, and they're not going to put up with any nonsense on the election integrity issue, and so. It's really important that he does well. I mean, I don't know what I've not seen any up to date polling on him in the last couple hours, but you're right, Infidel. The AG races are absolutely crucial in the states because if states are doing election reform, Attorney General is going to be key, as is the Secretary of State,
Senate. Yep, absolutely.
Yep. State senators, state reps, all of that. So it's all state stuff. So yeah, that's huge, and the governor too, and the governorship.
Infidel, I'm sorry, Infidel, can you see California, Nathan Hochman for AG? Can you see any updated information yet?
No, nothing yet.
Okay, let me know when you see that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think what we're seeing today is really a disgrace to be living in US, which supposedly, number one nation in the world, and we're still seeing issues that we don't see in third world countries, and we really need to. And a lot of this, I would say, is falling on Republican even elected officials, and some of this, like Pennsylvania, had Republicans in there.
Well, I mean, they had Republican reps, but the Supreme Court dropped the ball in 2020 on that, and now they've sued. So, like to the Republicans' credit, they've lawyered up. They've got 36 full-time attorneys deployed in 19 states, including all of the swing states, and they're filing lawsuits. Carrie Lake and Blake Masters just filed a lawsuit two hours ago, and the judge is hearing arguments right now about extending the polling from 7 p.m. till 10 p.m. tonight, plus, because of the hiccups that they had in Arizona. So they're also possibly going to put the argument that Katie Hobbs, who's running for government, has a conflict of interest. She's Secretary of State. She's in charge of the elections. She's running against Carrie Lake. And then Carrie Lake couldn't even vote this morning. She had to go to a liberal precinct to cast her ballot. And there was, of course, no problem there with the machines and stuff. But it's ridiculous. It's a banana republic, but it's just like not even real bananas. It's like GMO banana republic.
It is, and sadly, the court just actually announced that they dropped that. They didn't accept that case, so they are closing the polls at 7.
Okay, and then Pennsylvania, I think the Fetterman countersued because the Republicans said that mail-in ballots, absentee ballots that don't have the date written on the outside are going to be triaged and won't be counted because it's against the law. But the Democrats are suing to overturn that decision by the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. So that could end up, that type of an issue, if it doesn't get decided at the state level, could end up at the federal level. We could be sitting here talking about it next week, and they haven't even called Pennsylvania yet.
There's I reported earlier today that there is some place in Pennsylvania, county polling sites that have to stay open later today because of paper ballot shortages.
Yes.
And then that happened again right now. I'm getting news here that happened in Maricopa County. So it's happening in Arizona now too.
Yep. So, ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So the Greens are going to say, oh, we need to get rid of paper. It needs all to be digital, and it's more environmental friendly too. So let's get rid of the paper because then we won't have paper shortages. You see how the circular arguments are being constructed on this? It's just ridiculous.
I think majority of the countries has dropped machine voting and they went to paper.
Huh?
Yeah. Well, no, I wouldn't say the majority. There's two things. There's the full electronic vote, which is like you go into the booth and there's a video screen and you press like a touch
that's
screen.
what I'm talking about.
That's the full-on electronic vote.
Yeah.
So we have like a hybrid system in Arizona, which I think most most people. It used to be Diebold. Now they're Dominion machines, most of them. And it's, we fill it in with the pen, fill in the bubble, like the SAT test, and they run it through the scanner, the tabulator machine. But that's still half electronic voting. And, I'm going to make the argument that needs to be getting rid of as well.
Yeah, I got to agree. So today, I had Gregory on the show on TNT, Gregory Stenstrom, and I was saying earlier, Patrick, that he and Leah Hoops have written a book called Parallel Election: A Blueprint for Deception, and what happened in the 2020 election over there in their county, and their district is the largest one in Pennsylvania, if I recall. It's like the battle district in one of the battle states. And so Leah over there, she was a poll watcher, or is a poll watcher, and she recruited Greg because he's a fraud expert. And in a nutshell, what they found and proved was that there were fake ballots substituted for real ballots, and that what they call the V drive. The V drive is the actual hard drive, I believe, that holds the part of the vote that you're talking about right there. It is the electronic vote. It is the record. And they ended up filing cases in Supreme Court and Commonwealth Court. They had 98 exhibits in their case. They have exhibits proving officials admitting that they lost, quote unquote, lost V drives and swapped V drives out. They have evidence of them destroying evidence, shredding receipts, shredding return seats, laughing about having a bonfire over them. Their lawyers even admitted that this happened. So they've got all these examples, and that case was basically never heard. And I asked him, and he was there today calling in live from the polling center. And I asked him, I said, well, what's going on there today? And the first thing he said was the exact same thing. He said, we've got unverified votes, the logic, the LNA, the logic and accuracy testing on the machines is not being done. The scanners are down. He said, it's just an absolute mess. And it's Delaware County. For anyone who's wondering, Delaware County is the one that he's talking about.
Is that Ohio? Is that north of? It's in Ohio, isn't it?
No, it's in Pennsylvania, actually.
Oh, Pennsylvania. Okay.
Yeah.
Hushers, that's a Kraken talk, man.
Yeah,
that's some Kraken shit right there.
It really is.
This is the Kraken that you were talking about.
Yeah.
Remember 2020 and the Kraken?
Yes, release the Kraken.
The Kraken. Yeah.
Kraken.
But you guys, it's like so when in California, when I went into Manhattan Beach over here to cast our votes, we had at least 3 of our polling stations down. So it's like there's I mean, I wouldn't say there's a lot of hanky-panky going on, at least in Manhattan Beach, but that's just over the top, ridiculous. Like, I can't believe Greg, before he even went on the air, when I had him on the phone, he was freaking out. Like, he was so stressed out. You could hear how stressed out he was witnessing what was going on there. Thank God, like, he was composed enough to say, hey, I'm going to go take this. I'm going to go on the air about this. Thank God, because that was huge. It was important to hear about that at that moment. But what's going on in Pennsylvania is so, I just can't believe that they're allowing that they're getting away with this. I really am. I can't believe that the citizens are not rising up and going, we're done with this, especially with what's going on in Philadelphia with their public safety, with that DA that they are desperate to get rid of.
Yeah.
Help me out. Help me out.
Can you bring your mic a little more in line with your mouth there? Yeah.
Again with my mic.
Okay. Turn the gain
He's going to drive you crazy. He's going to keep saying.
But you know what, Daily, we do our show every day, and I normally don't have this problem. So
I'm getting a little bit of extra noise. There you go. That's probably.
I'm sorry. Is that?
That's
better?
okay. No worries. It's all good.
Here is a good news that I'm seeing tonight. Is I'm seeing a lot of, like, especially in Florida, there's actually a lot of Hispanic votes that are going towards the other side. So I'm seeing a lot of patterns are being broken across the country of like, hey, we're locking votes for Hispanics, blacks, I think we're seeing some change or shift in mentality of people, and I think that's overall positive. Today, like there is multiple House seats won by Republican, like Hispanics, in Florida. And what's interesting thing also is Michigan right now that I'm watching is a governor race with Dixon and Whitmore, and it seems that Muslims are actually aligning with Dixon because they are sick and tired of all this crap that's being pushed on them from liberals. So
Yep.
it's I think overall is positive, really, the some of this alignment that's happening now.
Yeah, Dearborn, Michigan. All the Lebanese, all the Syrians in Dearborn, they've said, forget it. We're done with the Democratic Party. You guys are totally depraved and degenerate and satanic. And sorry, you don't align with our values. The other people that are jumping ship, a lot of Latinos down here in Arizona, and so that's the Catholic Church in the Southwest is dominated by Latinos, and normally the Democrats have had a really strong hold on that sort of block of the Catholic vote, but that abortion issue's always been kind of hanging off to the side because of Roe v. Wade. That was kind of this overarching framework that nobody really had to broach that issue. You could kind of be in both minds on it, and it was okay because it was a separation of church and state sort of situation. Of course, that's totally out the window this year, and I think this has also had an effect. But really, that trend began in after 2016. You started to see this gradual migration, and a lot of it was because Trump had a lot of appeal towards some African American men and Latinos. And if you look at the Latino kind of profile, it's pro-family, it's pro-life, it's pro-entrepreneurship, and a lot of Hispanics that are in this country, they're not pro-open border, contrary to popular belief. They're not. So they want to have a fair and even system, and they're pro law and order. So, and I think the Democrats have made a gross miscalculation, assuming that they're going to have a monopoly on that group in particular. I'm sorry, but they might have lost them forever because of all this transgender fluidity and all this woke stuff. That totally does not align at all with Asians, Latinos, and quite frankly, most African Americans, if to be honest. They're not into that. So it's like they make a lot of assumptions that everyone's as degenerate as the sort of the DC and Huffington Post reader. It's not true. They're not. And I think they're going to pay the price for that. And that's beginning now. That's going to continue that trend. It's not going to end today. It's going to continue. They're going to get routed in 2 years among those demographics. They're really going to suffer.
Yeah, that's why they got to practice all this chicanery and fraud and treachery, and that's why the mainstream media is telling us, "Oh, it's going to take days." The White House is telling us it's going to take days, but apparently, Ruckus cued me in that ABC is saying it might take weeks. Did they use? Was it multiple weeks? Was that what the wording they used?
I'm glad you brought that up because I'd like to add a contextual fact check label to that too. That was actually courtesy of good old Derp Scan. I simply was trying to draw your attention to what he shared earlier during your live TNT show. So shout out to Derp Scan for catching that one and putting it on the radar. Yeah, dude. I mean, what happened, dude? Less than 24 hours ago. I mean, I was literally on one of my news briefs yesterday reporting about all of the talk about how it's going to take a few days. It's going to take a few days. It's going to take a few days. Well, woke up today and like, what's this? Oh, it could take up a few weeks. Whoa, hold on. I was joking on the Hervori Morik show that like this is coming from the same types of people who told us, don't worry, folks, it's just a couple weeks, just 2 weeks to slow the spread, and let's see, that turned out to be like almost 2 years, so I'm like, yeah, doing their math. I'm like, no, let's go back to just a few days. I'm comfortable with that. Like, even as pissed off and shocked as I was of them trying to lay down that narrative that it was going to take a few days, that's better than them saying it's going to take a few weeks, because I mean, geez, like Hesher, you're like, I want to know what day we're going to know the results. I want to know what year.
Right. Well, I was on Timothy Shea's show earlier. I jumped into that one because of, again, the clock change has really messed everybody up, especially with, worldwide radio like TNT does. But I was on his show, and it's just like, geez, I totally lost my train of thought there. I apologize. But I was on his show, and we were talking about this stuff, and man, it's I don't know. Someone help me out. I lost my train of thought. I'm doing too many things at once. Today is too long.
So they need 2 weeks to stop the spread of the MAGA spread. That's what they're worried about.
Thanks, Patrick. Now I remember what it was. He was saying, he was like, one of my fantasies, he goes, I know this is pie in the sky, but one of my fantasies is that this will all get rectified and that Trump will actually be brought in to finish out the last 2 years of Biden's stolen election. And I was like, oh man, you're asking for a problem with that one. I was like, I would love to see the fallout from that, but yeah, I don't think that's
actually, legally, that is possible. Trump can serve 2 years and then a further 4 years because of the Truman Rule. It's in the Constitution, and that's because FDR died halfway through his last term there. Harry Truman came in, picked up 2, and then it basically they basically gave him a mulligan for 2 years. It's in the Constitution. So Trump could do that. I'm not saying that that's going to happen. However, the Democrats can also select Barack Obama if, okay, listen, if they got rid of Kamala Harris first, and then the House would have to ratify or appoint a vice president if it was Obama, and then they pull Biden out for health reasons or because he's senile or he slips and falls and breaks his hip, okay, then Obama comes in legally for a final 2 years and only 2 years. And that's in the run up to the 2024 election. That is actually a scenario that is in play right now. I just want to put that out there for everybody, legal and constitutional, and that would be the Democrats' most top preference. Truth be known, because that would energize the base going into 2024, and it would also allow them to basically rev up all their House and Senate races. So that's completely in play right now, and a lot of people aren't aware. If the Republicans, and mark my words, if the Republicans take the House and the Senate, they will throw Joe Biden under the bus so hard. The Democrats will, and the media, the knives will be out. They will dice and slice him up like a Benihana dinner. Okay, he's done. So it's going to be ugly. You're going to see like tigers eat their own. Vicious internal warfare, and the progressives are going to make a play. The progressives are going to, because there'll be a power vacuum at that point, and they'll be arguing amongst themselves. How did we feel so badly? Rather than come to Jesus, they're basically going to have an internal power struggle, and it's going to, the only person who can shepherd them through that for the next 2 years is Barack Obama. So I'm telling you right now, it's possible, but it has to be engineered. They have to get rid of Kamala first, because they can't get rid of Biden and put Obama in the presidency. Okay, unless they put Obama into the vice president, put Kamala into the president, and then got rid of Kamala somehow. Use your imagination. There's a few different ways that could happen.
Right.
You want an interesting statistics? I was just reading on CNN some of the exit polls. 63% of the voters only believe that Biden won the 2020 election legitimately. So there are 37% of the total voters today believe that 2020 election was illegitimate.
Doesn't surprise me at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's not a minority. I mean, that's not a insignificant minority, is it?
No, it's substantial, and this is one of the things that I was really getting at on the show today. It's just like, if it is as bad as it seems to be in Pennsylvania, there in Delaware County, Pennsylvania, that should be it shouldn't be a partisan thing. You know what I mean? It should be, everybody should be concerned about that, because if it is as bad as it seems to be, and I asked Gregory, I said, how is that this bad? I said, I looked into last year and I noticed that your DA said there was nothing to be seen there. There was no evidence. And he and Leah both said, well, they never called us. The only thing we got was a knock on the door from the FBI trying to, link us to J6, but the DA never wanted to see any of our audio, our video, any of our documentation that has already been in 2 courts. The DA has no interest in it. And he said, and that's because he pulled no punches. He said, that's because AG Barr is a liar. And he ordered the Pennsylvania DA to stand down. And another ordered, there was a couple of stand downs there, and it was like Stolzheimer lied, AG Shapiro lied, AG Barr lied. I'm like, so how do you even deal with this? And he said, we have a people problem. He said, we have like an Ocean's 11 situation here where like a group of people walks into the casino, they steal everything, and then, we're not to look at it. So I mean, it's pretty crazy the way they're breaking those procedures and taking those V drives out and swapping them. And they also had 65,000 ballots that went out to and 25,000 of those were non-verified. So 25,000 non-verified ballots just hanging about. I mean, it's absolutely nutty. And it's just like, where's Fox News? Why isn't
Has he written any of this up?
Oh yeah, yeah. They wrote a whole book on it. They've got a book called Parallel Election, and they're actually going to be the subject of the follow up to 2,000 Mules. And the last time I had them on, I said, "Are you guys concerned? Seeing as what happened to the researchers from 2,000 Mules Part 1? They've arrested 2 of these people for not giving up their sources, even though the FBI already doxed the sources.
They've arrested them, and their incarceration was just overturned yesterday by federal's appeals court, so they're free.
Okay, good.
Yeah, as of last night, that's good news.
Yeah,
that's very good news, because what a sick banana republic we live in, that they're banging people up for investigating election fraud. And the biggest lie going, you want to know what the big lie is? The big lie is everyone repeats it right down to the street level. And I know because I'm talking to everybody, okay? From the media right down to the street, everyone says there's no evidence at all, nothing, that there was any fraud or any election engineering in the 2020 election. That's a lie. There's plenty of it. There's stacks of evidence. Just because judges threw it out of court or refused to even hear the cases in most instances, or in the case of what you're describing in Pennsylvania, the AG Shapiro, who's going to be the governor, I think he's winning by a landslide. I think it's the same guy. Yeah, it's the same guy.
I believe so.
Yeah, and so he's been rewarded for his hard work. Okay, they just ignored it. They didn't even look at it because they have the power to do that as attorney general or at the DOJ level. Merrick Garland, who's a total partisan. Thank God he was never a Supreme Court justice. You can see what an absolute dirtbag he is. But they have the power to choose what gets heard and what doesn't. These judges are all political appointees. So when someone says there is no evidence of election fraud or crimes in 2020, that's just simply grossly untrue. And the stack of thousands of affidavits as well. There's so much actionable intelligence. They're still doing the audit in Arizona. Did you know that?
Yeah.
They're still doing the audit. I spoke to somebody who was working on it. And and they have plenty of evidence and plenty of spoiled ballots where there's no signature verification, enough to turn it was only 10,000 votes. There's only 10,000 vote difference. And, a couple of swing states. You don't need to throw the whole country. You just need to throw a couple of counties in a few key swing states, and you can carry an election, a presidential election. It's not that difficult if you've got a few tools in the box. And I think this is what smart people are looking at 2020 have realized, that you don't need to own the whole country. It's strategic, it's mathematic, it's data driven. And people who do this for a living know exactly where the weak points are. And there's tons of them. There's hundreds of different ways you can exploit these and engineer a result without anybody knowing even. It takes 4 years to find out what the hell happened. Right. By that time, the world's moved on.
And it is really the narrative and the words that they use, which is completely not true. As you said, like a lot of judges did not even look at those cases. They refused to look at it. So it's not that they actually looked at it and say it's not true. Second, this word of like, there is no evidence of mass fraud. As you say, there is no coordinated effort of mass fraud. There is no one sitting in a room and saying, you do this, do you do that, right? It's sometimes it's actions of individual, even poll workers that are ideologues or has a certain agendas that decide to act on their own in a certain manner to basically like move their cause, right? And especially 2020 election, like with the way the media polarized everyone and how they made that orange man bad, it was the perfect way. It's almost like you brainwashed every individual to be able to make their own decision that I'm going to defeat the Nazis today and I'm going to do whatever it takes to defeat that Nazi.
Yep, they're
And that's how it
self-deployed.
happened.
They
Yep,
self-deployed.
exactly. Self-deployed.
They self-deployed. You know, the other thing about that is that the election systems are so complicated. Okay, just on even on the Dominion level, that you can set the tolerance for ballot scanning for, let's say, signature verification. You can dial it up or down depending on, you know, how the software is calibrated, and even some software or IT people have the ability to do this because there are settings within those systems. And if you dial it down, you just dial it down and you can, or dial it up, you can move a whole stack of ballots into a pile that requires a human to adjudicate them. And if you can, all you need is the right human to deal with that stack, and you can make that into a 10,000 vote stack. Or it could be a 100-vote stack, depending on how the system is calibrated. The average layperson has no idea how these systems work. They become so complicated, so complex. You need a PhD in computer science to figure out half this stuff, or you need 4 years and a team working on it with cyber ninjas, okay? So our elections are so out of the hands of the layperson. And that's the danger of all this, that you can carry out the crime of the century, and you can do it in plain sight, and most people will be standing in the room and they would not have any idea of how it happened. That's the reality, okay? That's the problem, and that needs to be solved.
Yeah. Ruckus, you look like you got something brewing there. What are you thinking, man?
Well, Patrick is clearly a mega terrorist, and he should be locked up immediately. But no, these things are what the media were consistently referring to, if I'm correct in my memory here, baseless. That was their choice word that they went with through most of this. The baseless claims that the election was stolen, and I'm just like, what the heck? So I had to, like, I just double checked. I wanted to do a quick search here. So baseless, we all get this, but having no basis or foundation in fact, unfounded, and a lot of these online definitions all seem to like to bring up words like cheating, like, oh, a baseless accusation of cheating, and I'm like, I wonder if they didn't, adjust these definitions post election denial, new normal that we live in. But the thing is that, sure, they may not be based in facts, because this is all hinged upon the ultimate gatekeepers of all information in today's day and age, which is the mainstream media and the social media big tech owned companies. They own all of the sources of outlets of information, and all the ones they don't own, they seriously, they squash it. I mean, and if not outright kill it. Metaphorically speaking, of course, folks. Sometimes they literally do that. Rest in peace, Bill Cooper. But I'm just saying.
But we can't discuss this on YouTube. So that's the biggest video sharing platform. We can't discuss it on Facebook after the election. We can't discuss it on Twitter. Maybe we could after the Musk transition, but when is that going to happen? Who knows? And LinkedIn, no, banned. LinkedIn, nothing. And even on Reddit, they police this so heavy on Reddit now. They've purged all the conservative. The Donald's gone. Reddit's been sanitized. Okay, this is a coordinated effort. So you can't even have the national discourse or the conversation in the public square. So that's another layer We've had a fraud, election fraud in different systems and technology, but never has humanity had to cope with having this middleman that's managing the conversation. Okay.
Mhm.
And that is, and so then these people can come out to baseless claims by the big lie of the election deniers and their big lie, baseless claims. They just keep repeating that over and over again, and you can't defend it because where are you going to have that conversation?
Well,
Nowhere. So
well, they're the ones, they create the facts. They own the facts. Then they literally came out recently and said, we own the science. I mean, what the F? I mean, come on. So these people, like, how can we make a case or an argument or establish quote unquote facts to then make their definition invalid of them saying, because by their definition, since they own the facts and our facts have not been established as so, even though they're truth and evidence, they're correct in saying that our arguments are baseless because they haven't allowed the facts to be officially put on the Wikipedia page, for instance, because like they always source back to something. Okay. In an article, when they say, according to XYZ, fill in that XYZ. And we would hope that if they're doing their job, that XYZ is a named source and an actual expert with some credentials and a web page or a bio, something you can follow up on and vet. Usually all we get is according to sources familiar with the matter. And
yeah, that's right.
But that don't mean anything. But yeah, they don't allow us to establish what that we can then point to and say, look, according to this is a fact. Look what they did with all the scientific journal peer-reviewed crap during the pandemic.
No, I'll show you how silly this is getting. Remember the Paul Pelosi story? No one's talking about that, right? That's just disappeared. So Paulie P, okay, NBC put out that little nugget 3 days ago that said that Paulie P answered the door and the police came and he wasn't flustered and he answered the door calmly and went back to spend time with the assailant, his homeless pal David DePape, right? That came out at NBC. NBC retracted it 2 days ago. And they said the reason NBC said they retracted it is because they've reviewed it. The editorial team has reviewed this, and we're not confident with the sources. There are unnamed sources, and it wasn't solid enough. And we're sorry. We're going to retract that. And the Washington Post was the one who was reporting on it. And the Washington Post said, and so NBC was not happy with the anonymous sources, so they're retracting it. And the Washington Post says, according to sources at NBC familiar with the matter. So there's anonymous sources referencing anonymous sources. I mean, you can't make it up. That's what happened in the last 3 days. Like that story is just buried in a loop of total like information loop there just amongst them. I mean, it's just we won't know for a long time until way after the election what actually happened. Truth will eventually come out, but they'll ship off DePape to Quebec or whatever, and give him a sending off present. He's gone. So we may never know the truth of that, but it's ridiculous. Yeah.
Canada take him
Yeah,
back.
they actually took the video down.
He's unjabbed.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. The video of the camera footage, right?
Uh-huh. The reporter itself, because there was like a video reporting. They took the video off the website.
Some people have mirrored it, so it's still out there, but it's just amazing. Like that story was the gift that kept on giving all the way through that point, because we were covering it like every day in the third hour. And on Friday, it was like, okay, well, it's changed again. And then on Monday, it was like, well, it changed again. And then they deleted that change. I mean, it's the perfect example of how they roll in the mass media when they're trying to create a narrative and manage a narrative, and then it falls apart. And I guarantee you, I can't guarantee you, but I would be surprised if one of those unnamed sources is actually one of the cops that was there, because we've had Chief Pat Jordan on, former, retired LA Metro chief of police in the Metro there, and he's when the story first said, maybe this is transactional, right? That was one of the first things that came out was, well, this guy hangs out on the Castro. Maybe this was sort of a transactional thing that went wrong. He said to me on air, he said, well, I think if that were the case, eventually one of the law enforcement agents would leak it. Maybe that's what happened. Maybe one of the law enforcement agents did leak it. And the thing with the NBC report is they can't really sit there and folks think about this from a news producer sort of perspective. They can't sit there and say, oh, that just kind of went out and it didn't really meet our standards. It had the lead in, it had the lower thirds, it had all the text and all the sweeper sounds and everything. I mean, the whole news team was in on that. They had a person reporting, you know what I mean? It went through the entire chain of approval at NBC. It wasn't some like reporter with a cell phone going, oh, breaking. I just talked to someone on the street and they told me this. I mean, that was a full on production that they had to redact.
Yep.
And wow, what a mess. I mean, that's a bad look.
And the reason it got redacted, you can take a wild guess. They got a call from you know who. That's why it got that's why it got pulled back, because of the election. Because it's a run up to the election, and they tried to spin it to get people to feel sorry for Pauly P after his drunk driving tirade and all that, and embarrassment and this and that, and then to get some sympathy for Nancy going into the midterms for the Democrats. They blatantly tried to. So whatever this was, who knows what actually happened and why? It's hard for us to know, but we can definitely see the manipulation that happened afterwards. That's clear. So, and it had a lot to do with the election, one way or the other. And then we're told by the media, no, it has nothing to do with the election. No, it has everything to do with the election.
Yeah,
how it was handled and spun. I can't tell you. Another remote theory would be that they tried to stage some kind of an incident and it went wrong, and then they basically tried to mothball it. But that might be a little bit too remote. I think there might be a more familiar, common sense explanation to what happened. But what was spun was how it was reported and all this other stuff. Who knows? Where was he bludgeoned with a hammer? It was while the police were standing around. I mean, I haven't worked that one out yet, but seems unlikely.
Yeah,
I honestly think they rely on the fact that they just want to push a certain narrative to their base, because it's the same thing they do with the Somalis, right? They rely on whoever is going to put the first narrative is going to win, and then after a few days it's going to fade, and what's going to stick is that first narrative that we pushed. That's why everybody rushed, oh, it's the MAGA Republicans. And I bet you right now, if you talk to a lot of their base, they will still believe that this is the truth. And
Yeah.
they did that's what they do all the time.
Yep.
Yeah. A little bit of narrative jamming there. Definitely get
And
those initial reports out.
At the same time, everyone else on the alt-right or the alternative, will run with the underwear gay lover story, right? Because of that conspiracy candy phenomenon.
Yeah.
So I think
yeah.
both sides got so much out of this that serves the agenda so perfectly well. Call me crazy. Call me whatever you like. Just don't call me late for dinner, folks. I think the entire thing was planned. They released this false report in the beginning on purpose to then retract it on purpose, just to leave this great big mystery about it. That initial, what Infidel Farah just said, served their purpose right away. That's all they needed was that first reaction from that side. And then all they needed was this other reaction from the other side. And they're like, we're done. Now we can just fuck with people now. It doesn't matter what we say. Seriously.
Let's move on. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Be.
And they it's sort of evident if you compare it to the incident that happened in New York. There was a white male Hochul supporter who choked out a black female protester of Hochul on camera. And, that's just been totally memory hold. And you would think, that would be kind of something the media would lean into. But since it was a Hochul supporter, a Democrat, assaulting a black female who was protesting Hochul, all of a sudden that's just not a big deal. But then, they'll go, balls to the wall with this whole insane Pelosi story and just drag it left, drag it right, drag it up, drag it down, call it MAGA terrorists, call it, left wing rainbow flag flying weirdos. And it's just like, nothing in the middle.
Yeah. They turned an LGBT Black Lives Matter supporting nudist hippie from Canada into an extreme MAGA white supremacist. I mean, that's a hell of a a magic trick by the media there, man.
Yeah, that's a flip. That's a prestige right there.
Yes, the prestige. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let me throw one more thing at you guys here with regards to the vote and strange stuff that's going on. And again, folks, you can check out my interview with Greg on TNT for the longer version of this. I actually played that before we started the show today on the stream, but he points out he and Leah point out in the book that Delaware County over there is the largest county and it is fraud central. And he noted that there are 8 states and many more counties that have been influenced by Soros and Clinton Foundation funded armies of lawyers to transform the election code. So basically, you've got armies of lawyers coming into battleground states and more specifically into the most important counties in those battleground states.
Yep.
And they're changing the rules. So they
Yep.
have the Soros-backed DAs, they have the Soros-backed attorney generals, the Soros-backed state person, and then what they do is they're centralizing those votes. So
Yep.
they have a centralized system, and the government wants to move towards a federalized system. So just imagine how bad that can get everybody. But this centralized vote, there's basically 5 people on a committee that are the ones sort of setting up the rules here with regards to these changes here to centralization. And he said in his county, all 5 of these people are public card carrying socialists. So you've got socialists in charge of that over there. And they've filed a complaint in court yesterday or last week, I think, and then also this week. And the other thing I want to point out is that, there was that story going around recently. Patrick, I heard you reporting on it in one of the news breaks about Zuckerberg and the amount of money that went into the elections there via, his personal accounts.
Mhm.
And Greg told me that 92% of that Zuckerberg money went into those very swing counties. So you've
Yeah.
got centralized votes and then tons of Silicon Valley money coming into places like Pennsylvania and other.
$400 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That, I mean, talk about what the hell.
Yeah, poll workers, precinct workers, Zucker boxes, drop boxes, all of that, and it is totally targeted, not just the battleground states, as you say, but they knew exactly which counties, which areas within the states to focus that money to get a result. You don't throw, if you're a guy like Zuckerberg, you're not going to throw 400 million around unless you want to get a result. And he got his result. So like if the Republicans take the House and Senate or just the House, they should have a hearing. They should drag Mark Zuckerberg in, and he should be up for election interference.
Exactly.
I mean, that should not be off the table. These people should not be allowed to buy their way in and run our elections because they already have enough interference just on the Facebook level and the partisan censorship that they all need to be basically indicted and sentenced and thrown in prison, like all of them, Dorsey, Zuckerberg, all of them, because what they've done, they've stepped over the line big time. They've abused their finance and their money, their power. Google, YouTube, they've stepped over the line. They're doing the very thing they've been accusing Russia of doing for the last 6 years. They're interfering in our elections. Those people.
Yeah.
And by those people, I mean, you guys saw the leaks that happened like what last week, and no one is talking about it anymore. I think they just tried to get the
Huge.
DHS leak, right? It was
Massive.
intercept.
That confirms everything. To the blacklists are real. So the FBI, the DHS, they're meeting in secret with the heads of the censorship departments of Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Google, Reddit, Discord, even. Okay. They're all meeting with these agents, field agents from the FBI to decide who to dox, who's supposed to take down, who to deplatform, who to shadow ban. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's all there.
Yeah. Duck goes in on it this week too.
They've
switched in.
Oh, are they thrown in there? Yeah.
Yep. I just saw it.
I suspected that was going to be the case.
Yep.
Yeah, because they got into the censorship game.
Right.
On the I forgot what it was. Was it Russia or was it
it was either COVID or Russia. I can't remember.
COVID or Russia or vaccines or
yeah.
Just absolutely dirty.
Right.
You know,
Right.
these people, why can't these people just be happy having a tech firm? Because they've been offered membership into the club, and there's certain requirements to be in the club, and one of the requirements is you have to attend the meetings, and you have to be on board with the effort. And the effort is about controlling the national conversation, especially around elections and vaccines and all of these things. Then you're in the club.
Right. Right.
You get the investment, you get into the golden circle, all of that stuff. So there's a few people on the fringe that have got one foot in, one foot out, like Peter Thiel. Rumble has, done some admirable gestures in defense of free speech so far, but they're a public company now. They could be taken over in a hostile takeover tomorrow, and it's over. It's over. So I put my faith in Odyssey at the moment. It's Odyssey and BitChute, but Rumble is vulnerable right now as a publicly listed company. People
Yeah.
don't realize how that works. Look at what Elon Musk did. He walked in and bought Twitter,
Right.
with a consortium of 5 or 6 business people. And by the way, do you think Elon Musk is doing it? He's not doing it out of the goodness of his heart, although he is doing it because he probably believes in the free speech thing, I'm sure, the idealist in him. But he, my friends, will take that company public again, and after he develops the revenue model, and it will be worth much more than it's worth today. So all of those investors, they're not doing it for altruistic reasons. They want to make some money, and they will make money. They're going to make a ton of money.
Yeah.
And you know when you're going to see their stock skyrocket in terms of public viewership? When Trump announces he's going to run for president, I predict, I might be wrong, but you heard it here first, he'll announce it on Twitter. He'll announce it on Twitter, and everyone's going to blow up. It's going to go mental. Everyone's going to go bonkers. So if him and Musk engineer that and do it correctly next week, Twitter will just blow up, and and then everyone's going to be talking about Twitter again.
That would do it. That would do it. I mean,
So-
he's claimed he wants to keep everything on Truth Social, but I mean, if he got that account back with all those tens of millions of follows he had, why would you not? I mean, why would
Of
you
course,
not?
he'll take it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he has an event scheduled in Mar-a-Lago on the 15th. So I bet
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
Yep.
But
So-
it would be huge if his account was reactivated with all the whatever million followers, and then he announces it first on Twitter and then does it live. That'll just it'll be a meltdown like you've never seen. There'll be people screaming and having epileptic fits in the street.
Yes.
MSNBC will have to be shut down for like 12 hours or something while they cope, open a Samaritan's line for counseling.
Yeah, go to the hug closet and get a warm blanket, I guess. Hey Ruckus, I know you got something coming up, man. Let me check in with you real quick here. Don't you got to be somewhere in 30 minutes or something like that, or am I off schedule still?
No, you're right. Thanks for the heads up there.
All right.
This time thing, except for
Still getting used
Patrick,
to it.
Joseph, they don't have to worry about that right now.
Because we don't change. We always stay the same.
Yeah,
Isn't
you
that
guys lucked
Don't
out
you
there.
go changing. That's right.
Yeah, So Ruckus, anything, we opened a whole thread in the Discord there. Anything in there you think we need to hit before we close out tonight, or before you got to get out of here? I mean, I don't know like how much vigilance is going to be required tonight, because I'm sure by the time we wake up, the deck is going to be looking different already.
Oh, this is going to be going on all night, dude. I mean,
Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys aren't going to keep streaming. I was figuring I'd go do my hour with Joseph, and I'd come back and you guys would still be here talking about whatever's going on. Well, here's the thing. Okay. It's all fun and games until Woke on Twitch fires up its live stream. So I'm not really worried about too much until we see that kind of stuff again. Are you familiar with that channel, Patrick?
I've heard it's a big channel, right?
Yeah, and they feed in all the live streams from all these other people out and about filming the peaceful protests and all that fun stuff. But it's really crazy to see all these squares of like multiple streams all at once of all the chaos, and I'm like, when we're in that mode again, then I'll be kind of worried. So there's been no fireworks as it were yet, but there's certainly been a ton of weird shenanigans going on.
Yeah.
I briefly reported some updates on a few of them earlier today on the Hervore Mork show. Some that stick out to me, of course, we had quite a number of places where the voting machines just simply weren't working and or weren't working properly. And that was taking place in a lot of various counties. So I think New Jersey, Arizona, they had some issues somewhere in Philadelphia. All of these places that we've been talking about, like why is it like the same places that have been on the center stage across the nation for the last few weeks are the ones that are suddenly experiencing problems? Go figure, nothing shady or nefarious or suspicious here, right? There was one place that had reported about actual a cyber attack, and I found that to be kind of interesting. That one stood out to me. Oh, by the way, I did get an update on all the folks who were concerned with what was going on in Maricopa County, Arizona, because they were having trouble with their tabulators in about 20% of their polling sites earlier today, right? So this is great. At about 2 p.m. local time today, according to a statement, officials identified a solution to the problem, and Hesher, printer settings were the cause.
Check your printer settings.
I'm like, TPS load letter, what the fuck does that mean? Like right out of that movie, Office Space, right? That caused the problems.
Yeah, they said the ink wasn't dark enough. It wasn't dark enough, the ink setting, and it didn't pick up, the scanner didn't pick it up. That's what they claimed.
Wow.
That's great, dude. So now we're going to have maybe we're going to see tonight, Woke will fire up their live stream. We're going to see all the people drag the printer out in the streets and pull an office space move on it. Yeah.
Mostly
Beat
peaceful.
the crap out of it with a baseball bat or something. Probably a skateboard. That's what they like to use.
Wow. Well, that reminds me, Ruckus, one of the ones I was talking about today was there was an article out saying that there are, I believe, 14 states that are going to have National Guard cyber security watching this stuff. And I'm just like, well, okay, first off, if you're not allowed, if everything is fair and only weird conspiracy people are saying that there's reason to be concerned about the integrity of the voting system in this country, why is the military cybersecurity reserves going to 14 different states? And then the question becomes, well, what are they doing there? And are they not in Pennsylvania? Are they not in Arizona? Like, what exactly is their role when we're seeing all this stuff go wrong? So it's like, which is it, guys? You can't have it both ways here. You can't need cybersecurity from the military in 14 states and say that there's nothing wrong with the system, and you can't have them in those states and not have them not doing anything when we're seeing V drives get swapped out and stolen. We're seeing boxes of ballots showing up. We're seeing dead people on the registry. We're seeing non-verified voters. We're seeing all this, stuff happening. What are those guys doing? Why are they there in the first place?
Well, okay. I reported about that yesterday too, actually. What I found interesting was, according to Brigadier General Gent Welsh, he said that the National Guard's participation in election cybersecurity activities, quote, does add an air of credibility to what's out there, end quote. And I thought, okay, well, at least there's that, right? But no, reading through this whole article the other day, I was quite alarmed to learn that, according to another military dude, where's his name? Here it is. Army Major General M. Todd Hunt, the Adjutant General of the North Carolina National Guard, said his state has a joint cyber mission center that will facilitate communication between the state's cyber unit, its departments of information technology and emergency management, as well as federal contacts from CISA, and I'll explain what that is in a second, plus the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI. Now, CISA is this newer four-letter agency, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. This was created in 2018 during the Trump administration to work with government and industry partners to defend against current and predicted threats to cyber and physical infrastructure, including election infrastructure. And it's the director of CISA, Jen Easterly, who's been the number one person other than the White House spokesperson, Karine Jean-Pierre, who's been warning everybody about all of these shenanigans that might be taking place today. And clearly we've seen quite a number of things not working correctly, and an actual cyber attack in one place, at least knocking out the entire system. And I forget where that was specifically already. There's so much news in front of me that I don't even know which tab to pick anymore, you know. But yeah, this cybersecurity thing, quite alarming. Kind of just like passed under the radar, you know. It was 14 states. It did include battleground states, Arizona, Iowa, and Pennsylvania, and then a bunch of other states, including New Mexico, New York, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Hawaii, Illinois, Louisiana, North Carolina, Washington, and West Virginia. And that's according to Politico.
Yep. All those battleground states, and each one of those has that situation that Gregory outlined on my show today.
CISA. Yeah, that was in the Intercept leaks as well. So that in their document that they released, this was actually, it's Eric Schmidt. He's running for Senate in Missouri, and he filed a lawsuit, Missouri versus Biden, and in their document says where we want to go in 2022 ahead of the midterm elections in 2022. It will be critical to evaluate CISA's role in this space and ensure that the agency is providing additive value that fits within its unique capabilities and mission. One approach is to recognize CISA's responsibility for securing our election infrastructure. We also want to ensure that it is set up to extract lessons learned from 2022 and apply them to the agency's work in 2024. You've got a clandestine group that are running the back end of our elections, and it's political, it's partisan. That's what's going on.
Yeah.
That's what's going on. That's the deep state right there. Little cutout organization. So people say, oh, it's not us, it's the CISA.
Right.
And they're there to secure our elections. And guess what else gets included as election infrastructure now? The media, social media. They're counting that as election infrastructure. So if there's misinformation or disinformation or malinformation or whatever, that's seen as a threat to the election infrastructure, you see. So this is just completely out of control, basically.
It's madness.
Just fuck that.
No, it's totally madness. For those that are viewing, let me just show you this. All right. So here you go. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. There it is. There is the aforementioned Jen Easterly right there. She looks like she has your vote in mind. Does she not? She looks like she is completely nonpartisan. I can just tell by the opening frame there.
A psychotic social worker.
She looks like she's related to Jacinda Ardern. They could be sisters.
Or Katie Hobbs. They all look the same. They sound the same. They've got a high-pitched, squeaky voice. All of them. They talk from the back of their throat like this, and these. That's who's running it. Everything basically. It's completely a nightmare.
Yeah, and we had such crazy this amount of money that goes into federal cybersecurity is staggering. It is absolutely staggering. And the standards by which are used to accredit machines, government machines, especially those used for what they might call mission critical stuff, is insane. I mean, if you print out all of the remediations that need to be done on a computer, it's like I can't even do it with two fingers. It's like this thick, And it's well known how to secure a machine. We do it all the time in this government. And what did they do here? They created a whole nother agency, that in this case, a 4-letter agency. They make a whole nother 4-letter agency, and they use like globalese. Cybersecurity is above everybody's head. We'll call it cybersecurity infrastructure security agency. We won't tell people what infrastructure is. Like Patrick just mentioned, they're throwing in random things that should not be to do with infrastructure. Uh, National risk management. What does that mean? We don't already have umpteen agencies working risk management at the national level. And then media is pointed right there on their page right there. You can see they've got media, they've got risk management, emergency communications, infrastructure, cybersecurity, all completely unnecessary because of all the bloat and cybersecurity that we already have in this country. So why do they need a whole nother thing with another crazy liberal person as their spokesperson? I'm afraid to even click play on that video. I don't think I want to know what she sounds like.
Let's hear what she sounds like. Come on now. You
All
just
right. Let's give her
don't
a
tease
shot.
us, Hesher. Come on.
We'll give her a shot. Let's see what she has to say here. Maybe we'll love her. Maybe she's here to save our election integrity.
Hi, I'm Jen Easterly, Director of the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, better known as
God.
CISA. Today, Americans across our great country are exercising their fundamental right to vote and making their voices heard. So let's take a minute to thank the hundreds of thousands of election officials and poll workers out there.
I feel safer already.
Democracy,
I can sleep now and just relax. She's in charge.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, she's so capable, it looks like, and
right.
Strong and stable leadership right there, man. That's
calming.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, is that a tattoo on her hand? Excuse me? What's on your left wrist?
Oh yeah, over here it is.
Darling, what's going on there?
Wow.
Like, what's your story? Where's
Upper
the rest
forearm tattoo. That's bold.
Where's the rest of it? So she's not wearing a long sleeve. She's showing her wares there. So this is an interesting character.
Yeah.
Fingernail polish.
What her background? I'm sure she's totally qualified for the job, right?
Oh yeah.
Look at her hands. One hand is painted red and one hand is painted.
Yeah,
look at that.
My goodness.
Wow.
So you're looking at a total nut job. Like she's a complete nut job.
Wow. It's got the red and the blue.
Spotted. Infidel, well spotted there. Yeah, I missed those details. I don't normally look at the nail polish, but as it goes, I mean, what a beauty there, huh?
Oh boy.
Got a live one.
You were right about the voice, dude. You nailed it.
You don't even need to listen. I know the voice. The voice, right? It's speaking from the back of their throat. And it's just like, that's the new voice of tyranny.
The vocal fry.
The pitch of tyranny right there.
Pitch of tyranny is vocal fry.
No deep, sultry tones allowed, period.
Shout out to Whitebird in the live chat in the Discord. I was like, she kind of looks familiar. He nailed it. She reminds me of the witch from that Robin Hood movie with Kevin Costner.
Not far off.
Dead ringer. All right, guys, I'm going to slide on out of here to go do my Joseph Arthur thing. So it's been a great pleasure. Thanks for joining us, Patrick. Thanks, Infidel.
Do a proper plug, Ruckus. Joseph Arthur, Technicolor Dreamcast.
Always.
On TNT. What are the times?
Great. What are the times? That's the tricky
hot question this week.
Hold on, let me consult my secretary here. That would be his show on TNT, airs weeknights Monday through Friday, 9 to 11 Central Standard Time now, and I'm in the second hour, which would be 10 Central Time, which is coming up in about 13 minutes. Other than that, I also do my news briefs, my news segments in the top of the hour, each hour for Hervori Morg. The show time for his show on TNT would be 6 at, sorry, I don't know.
6 p.m. Yeah.
6 p.m. Central is when his show starts. So I do 6 and 7 o'clock in the first.
So, Joseph starts at 9 Mountain Time, but that's 9 Mountain time.
10. Yeah, it's so confusing. I get confused. But yeah, go to the website, tntradio.live. That's the easiest thing to do. You can find the schedule right there. It shows you all of the time conversions. That's all you need to know, folks. And that's what I'm going to go do. I'm going to go do my second half with Joseph Arthur. So if this gets wrapped up, make sure you tune in because Karen Hunt is joining us.
Fabulous
tonight. Awesome. So it should be a good time. But thanks again, everybody. I'm going to skedaddle do. May God bless every one of you, and may God save this republic. Ruckus out.
All right, there he goes. That's appropriate words for Ruckus's usual sign out, but very appropriate considering what we're talking about here tonight. I guess we'll see. We'll see how the YouTube execs feel about this one, Patrick, because I said screw it. This is an important conversation. We're going to have it on YouTube and on Rockfin and on Spreaker and on Alternate Current Radio. And I'll be sure and link you so you can put it up at 21stcenturywire.com. Also, we may have to chapterize it because we were, of course, doing strange boiler room reporting for the first half of the show there before you jumped on. A lot of strange stuff going on. We had CC Woods with us. We had Spore with us. We had Ruckus with us. We got Patrick Henningsen with us and Infidel Pharaoh remaining. So what do you guys think? There are so many strange things going on. I've got a whole list of them, but I feel like, I'll leave it to you guys to tell me what's important. I'm probably going to fade out and burn out here pretty soon, but I'm down to go through any more things you guys want to talk about with regards to this election. Patrick, what's your prediction as to when we're going to find out? What do you think? How long do you think it'll actually take? Days, weeks, hours?
It depends on it depends on whether it's consequential, and the only thing that's consequential, the Republicans will take the House. Mathematically, that's a certainty. The only thing that's consequential is the United States Senate and what the majority is. And if it comes down to one seat or two seats, I think they're going to sandbag Pennsylvania. It's going to get caught up in the courts. That could go for right up to the beginning of December. I think they're going to sandbag. I think Arizona is going to be ugly. It's going to be ugly. There's going to be a lot of mud thrown and a lot of arguments. And I think someone's going to get screwed in Arizona. Some candidates that ran proper campaigns are going to get screwed. And I think there's some dodgy business that has gone on. Whether they're going to be able to prove that, and whether the courts are going to be able to adjudicate that, and whether the judges, I don't know who the judges are, whether they're going to see that process through or not. I don't know enough about who would be hearing those cases, but that one could get sandbagged. Maybe not as long as Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania, you're looking at a major legal circus. And in Arizona, it's going to be more of a political circus. It will also have a legal component. But just those two states, and add one more, like Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Like Wisconsin or
Georgia.
like Georgia. Okay. So we might not be able to call the Senate majority for 2 weeks.
Wow.
Maybe more. I don't know. So that could happen. That could happen. I hope that doesn't happen, and the country is going to be a mess if that happens. And Trump's going to wade in. Trump is going to wade right into that maelstrom and start throwing his weight around, and it's going to make it even more inflammatory for the Dems. And then all the Mitt Romneys of the world are going to be freaking out, biting their nails, all the rhinos. But yeah, there's a lot of important races that are happening. I mean, Mike Lee is being challenged by Egg McMuffin in Utah. That CIA stooge,
right,
that tried to intervene to basically turn Utah, to neutralize Utah during one of the last elections. I think it was the 2020 election.
Yeah, 2020. Yeah.
What and so, like, his job with the agency when he was a spook was meddling and fiddling with elections and things like that. So he was basically doing what he was trained to do in third world countries, and he was let loose on America. And so he's challenging Mike Lee. Mike Lee's a stand-up guy. I don't have a bad word to say about Mike Lee. as a senator. I think he's done a brilliant job. He's one of the few dyed in the wool patriots probably in the Senate, as far as I could see. And McMuffin is coming in, and so McMuffin changed parties like 3 times already. I don't know what he is. He was a Republican, then he was carpetbagging, then he was independent. Now he's a Democrat. Like, what is this guy? He's like a shape-shifting, like a lizard or whatever.
CIA stooge.
I hope he loses, because that guy's bad news. And he's got the backing of Mitt Romney. Romney backed him in his last campaign, that debacle, because Romney hated Trump so much. He wanted to throw the electoral votes off, and that might have made the difference in a tight electoral race with Trump. Maybe it was 2016. I can't remember what year McMuffin. But just that's going on. Like, of with all the other stuff, that guy's in there. It's just crazy. Like, where these people do not rest. No rest for the wicked.
Yeah. And
But
there's something there's a weird one going on in Oklahoma too, I've noticed. Oklahoma is like 90% Republican, I think, by population.
you've got 2 Senate races.
Yeah.
You've got 2. No, Oklahoma is a huge election. This is a massive election for Oklahoma.
Yeah, and it's my understanding that Hoffmeister, I have I have a whole report I have set aside on this one. I don't have it in front of me, but it's my understanding that Hoffmeister is basically working working the angle of the Native American population and looking to change some of the rules favorably for them with regards to casino businesses. And also, there's something going on with the marijuana laws there too that are sort of at stake. But Stitt is definitely still up. Looks like by not a lot though. That one's looking not quite, but almost neck and neck. So that would be quite an upset if something happened there in Oklahoma and they actually had a Democratic governor win.
Yeah, it looks like there's going to be 2 GOP senators coming out of this election in Oklahoma. Predictably, anyway, one of them. The other one was somewhat close, but for a while anyway. But yeah, so that's definitely, yeah, you're right. It's a total Republican stronghold, but then they've managed to shoehorn in somebody on the governor's race, which in itself is pretty incredible considering Oklahoma being what it is, right?
Yeah, and I believe she's under a criminal investigation also, if I recall. Don't quote me on that, everybody. Someone can feel free to fact check me. I'll come back to you on that.
Only fitting.
Yeah, right.
Surprise, surprise.
They didn't call it yet, but it's his state is 55.99%, and the Hoffmeister is 41, and it's 95% reporting. So I think he has it closed.
The other one is Oregon. That was an interesting race. The governor race and the Senate race. Oregon's not, but take Portland out of the mix there, and a few other strands. It's not as much of a progressive state as a lot of people might think. It's got very deep conservative veins, as does a lot of California, by the way. And Washington, Western Washington, for instance, and things like that. So they've taken these places for granted for so long, and you're starting to see the shifts come. And in Oregon, it was because that evil governor, Kate Brown, I believe her name was, a total maniac. She was just vicious about lockdown and vaccines, and she's loved watching Portland go up in flames, like literally. Like, I don't know, they must have had parties at the governor's mansion watching the buildings burn, and then the whole Bundy thing that went down, that was ugly.
Yeah.
So she's backed out of office and left that one as an open goal. And I think a lot of people are going to be surprised that not everybody in Oregon is completely insane.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good news. And what's going on in Texas? Is Beto out yet? It looks like
Beto's out. He's done. They've called it for Greg
He's
Abbott.
out. Yep.
All right.
Robert Francis O'Rourke has bowed out, but he will run for something else. Just give it.
We're not going to get rid of him. He's like McMuffin. He'll just keep popping up.
He'll keep popping up. I think he'll just like run for something. He'll keep trying at Senate and until he'll eventually get something. I mean, I just like send him down. He could be like send him down to Venezuela and he could be like Juan Guaido or something, or maybe some foreign country they can deploy him. Maybe he should get in touch with McMuffin and see if there's any opportunities in any of these other countries.
Beto and McMuffin, the perfect Beavis and Butthead of our political system there. Beto rolls in on his skateboard going, oh yeah, I'm going to take your guns.
Twerking on TikTok.
Right. TikTok dances, skateboards, the whole thing.
The skateboard, standing on tables, getting emotional.
Right.
Yeah.
Calling people MFers.
Oh man,
threatening to take the guns away from people in Texas. I mean, how is that? I mean, even if that is your goal, Beto, you're gonna really roll that way here in Texas? Like, just go all up front about it. Hell yeah, we're gonna take your AR-15s, and you're gonna do you not? Isn't this your state? Haven't you lived here longer than me? Even I know that's not a viable political idea in this state.
So some good news. Eric Schmidt's finishing strong in Missouri. That's the guy that filed that lawsuit that was in The Intercept, that big disclosure. So he's in. So it's Josh Hawley and Eric Schmidt. Those are two hardcore anti-big tech censorship patriots that are in both Senate seats in Missouri, and they're very strong, and they're very strong constitutionally. That's good. And Grassley's back in, and Grassley on balance is a good egg. Most senior member of the U.S. Senate. He's been on the right side of quite a few things. I don't agree with everything, and he is getting on, but nonetheless, he's in there, fairly reliable in terms of making the right decisions on big issues. So Marco Rubio's a shoo-in. I'm not a big fan, but whatever, he's in there. He's in the Lindsey Graham wing of the Republican Party, unfortunately. But
yeah,
it's amazing how they were trying to sell the establishment Republican, and Joe Biden was trying to sell Lindsey Graham as a MAGA Republican.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
No, he did. Lindsey played the role in the aftermath of the 2020 election. I mean, I think Lindsey saw that there was election fraud, there was systematic foul play, and I think he realized it. Him as a former lawyer, even if he was just a military lawyer, which is not the same as being a high-powered lawyer in the civilian sense, but I think he saw something there. But then, see, Lindsey Graham is basically carrying on the legacy of John McCain, which is you've got to go out and sell weapons and keep some wars simmering around the globe. The U.S. always has to have 4 or 5 wars going on, and then that keeps the defense industry turning over. He took that sort of, him and Rubio collectively have filled in that role that McCain used to do himself, basically. So that's been taken over by Graham, Rubio, and maybe you could say Tom Cotton and Pompeo, who's not a senator, but he's part of that sort of mafia, which is that they need, U.S. needs to have adversaries, and we need to play off them to build up to keep our defense industry ticking over.
Basically. You know who's the mentor of Cotton, right?
I don't know, but I know that he got a lot of money from Israel when he got.
Yeah, it's a Bill Crystal, actually.
Ah, there you go.
Oh, okay.
There you go. The neocon extraordinaire. Bill Crystal, what a lovely man.
Yeah. Thanks for your contribution. Right over there sit over there next to Mr. Bloomberg, why don't you?
Yes. I mean, I just, some parts of me, I like Tom Cotton in the sense that he's a very intelligent, very capable. He's young. He's got a lot going for him in general as a politician, but he does play that Iraq war veteran, Harvard law grad combo, hybrid sort of, that resume that's brought him a long way. I do hold out hope that some of these guys like Cotton will become more intelligent as they get older and dial back some of their other sort of positions that were a little bit too strident when they were younger, because they're trying to make a name for themselves in the U.S. political scene. But Tom Cotton's a very smart guy, and he's also got a constitutional streak in him, which is impressive. So, you still have to hold out hope for some of these guys because they're going to be in there a long time, and you just have to hope for the best. I disagree with them. These guys on their unflapping support for Israel and to take down the Syrian government, take down the Russians, take down everybody. I disagree with them across the board, but they might mature and become more of a Rand Paul Republican later and focus on domestic issues and realize that gallivanting around the world, incinerating countries might not be in the best long-term interest of the U.S.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, really. No kidding. So let's see here. I'm looking at Real Clear Politics. Am I reading this correctly here, Patrick? It looks like, judging by what I'm seeing, I know that's kind of small on screen over there. Let me see if I can blow it up a little bit.
You looking at Senate, House, Governor?
I'm looking at House, and it looks like the current reading is saying that the Democrats are down 8 seats and the Republicans are up 8 seats. Am I reading that properly?
Yeah, and that's with partial reporting so far. So, like, in terms of, so that we're still probably about halfway on that, I think.
Okay, all right.
So the sort of other people's projections are basically putting it just about even right now in terms of reporting. But and so in the House so far, Republicans have a substantial margin already on the House. So that's a lock. That's done.
Yeah,
it's over. But they could it depends. The final result will be interesting in terms of what type of a margin that they're going to have. And also, here's another big thing. The Democrats they're toast in Florida. Like, literally, they're going to get run out of that state completely.
Yeah.
And Texas, they're not doing very well. They hadn't done very well. And in Virginia, the Virginia House races are very interesting.
Surprise today.
Yeah. So Virginia, look at Glenn Youngkin. You got these House races. There's no Senate races this election in Virginia, but I'm talking 2024. The electoral votes of that state. Which way is that state going to swing? Looks like it's going to swing Republican. So that's a big change. There's that's a major state for a national general election. Virginia is very important, and it's always been almost assumed it's going to be Democrat in the last couple of cycles. And so that seems to be changing. Florida, Texas, Dems thought they're making a run for Texas. That's what the open border policy is about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is creating Democrat voters. And I think the Latino backlash on the Democrats, the anti-woke Latino backlash is part of that. And so there's some trends going on. Georgia is not it's also trending into Republican in some areas, but it's still a very divided state, fairly evenly drawn, Georgia. But I'm not sure if Herschel Walker's going to pull it out. It's going to be very close. It might end up in a runoff.
Oh yeah, interesting. They've been pretty mean in the mainstream media to Herschel Walker, man.
But see, they miscalculated that because a lot of black male voters on the polling I've seen seem to be moving over to Herschel Walker's camp. So when you sort of try to crucify a high-profile major role model in the kind of black community, Olympic athlete, professional football star, a hero of Georgia, basically, whatever his dalliances were when he was younger, or his relationships and whatever as a Playboy jock, that was a long time ago, and so they probably going to sympathize with him if they're trying to destroy him. So you get that reverse backlash effect, like with Kanye. Is the support for Kanye West is just like he's becoming a cult figure now. and because they're trying to cancel him, and so they tried to cancel Herschel, and I think he probably got more support from some Democrats, particularly African American black men, and that wasn't intended. They wanted to destroy him, and I think they miscalculated a little bit there. I don't know if he's going to pull it off though, because does he have the grassroots? He's a novice. He's a rookie in politics. Doesn't have a support base, and it's a miracle he's got what he's got in his first run. I can't believe how well he's done. Really
Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
incredible.
Yeah. You've been tracking that one, Infidel. What do you think about that one?
Walker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean his ahead right now is like 20,000 vote ahead with 74% reporting. So it's pretty close.
Yeah, that's good. It's close. It's a very close one. Georgia's, you see, Stacey Abrams is running a machine there, and
Yes, she is.
and I think she was instrumental in the 2020 election in some of the shenanigans that were going on in some of these districts, and there were investigations done and audits done there, and I think her machine was implicated in some of that, from what I heard. So yeah, so but her machine isn't going to pan out for her in her race. So maybe some of those gaps have been plugged. Plus all eyes are on some of these problem areas, and with more eyes on the problem areas, there's going to be less problems. Not to say there's going to be no problems, but less problems. So that's another thing, that more Republicans are taking an interest in elections, in the granular details of elections than before. And also there's a lot of lawyers around as well, and they're ready to slap lawsuits at the drop of a hat. So like the Democrat machines, like that Las Vegas machine, that was Harry Reid's machine. They're trying to turn Arizona into a machine. That's a Dem lock in Maricopa County, and they want to make it like they've been able to rely on Los Angeles, Philadelphia, Detroit, Chicago, turn it in Atlanta, turn it into a machine, and it's kind of a toss up here. There's a lot of pushback against that, and the broader appeal of the Republican Party, even the broader appeal of the pro-Trump wing of the Republican Party, isn't as viewed as extreme down here. Carrie Lake is, I mean, some people will say she's, the media call her extreme, but she's well within, I think, the tolerance level of what the average Arizonan would look at some of these issues like election integrity and vaccines that she's calling out. It's not fringe viewpoints here. You're talking about potentially, at least half or more of the state's population. So that's not fringe, lunatic fringe stuff. That's like majority.
Yeah, it actually fits in with what most of the polls have been saying that most Americans are concerned with, which is rising crime, rising inflation, rising fuel prices, open borders, COVID policies. Like these seem to be the things that people are mostly interested in by and large, and that doesn't even count all the people that are secretly finding those things important and not willing to say it to polls or to their friends or whatever.
Yeah, to speak to, a pollster on the phone. But yeah, Infidel is right on Georgia. Yeah, the Walker's got a slight lead. Got to get more than 50% to avoid the runoff. So will Herschel run the 200 meters come across the final stretch? That's the question.
Yeah, or will someone in so in Pennsylvania, it's Delaware County is fraud central because it's the largest one. That's where they've got all this chicanery happening, all this stuff happening.
That's a machine.
That's the machine. And in Georgia, it's I'm going by memory. Is it Fullerton or Fulton County?
Fulton County.
That's their version of that. So that's why Mark Zuckerberg and the whatever this new cybersecurity agency and the National Guard and all these various Soros institutes, Clinton institutes, are packing these areas in and sending money to those areas because that single county, all they got to do, like you were saying earlier, Patrick, is the water main broke, so we're gonna close it down at 11, and we'll be back, and we'll fix it overnight." And what do you know? The vote flipped. We found these boxes over here. We've got 250,000 new votes.
Oh, it's 11 o'clock. I'm afraid we can't. Oh, they got to stop the voting. Everybody come back at 6 a.m.
Yep.
Come back. Don't worry. We've got our security guards on the door. Everything's peach.
Yep.
Don't worry. It's all good. So yeah, so they want to turn Maricopa County because you can't win Arizona without this county. This is it basically, Metro Phoenix. So like if you can turn Maricopa into a machine, you can carry Arizona every election.
Right.
So Carrie Lake wants to reform the voting in this state, and she will do it. She will absolutely do it. I guarantee it. If she's governor, she's saying we're going to have a come to Jesus moment with voting in this state, and she's not kidding. And that scares the hell out of them. They will do anything to stop her. Anything. So she's totally anti-corruption, and she got a lot of people are frightened by her because they're afraid that she'll actually do the things that she's promising to do. And that's a big thing. That's a big thing. So they'll pull out all the stops to keep her from winning. I have no doubt about it.
Yeah, her latest campaign ad I was just blown away. It's just like, wow, that is someone that is saying something that a lot of people want to hear right there. And I was very pleased to see her use her experience. We have so many these career politicians that have never been an expert in any field before ever in their lives, other than maybe crime or racketeering or stuff like that. But she's able to come into her very well produced ad and say, you know what, I had a career in this industry in media, and she just laid it out. I mean, she laid out the problem with the mass media and said, I come from this. We're going to fix this. She may not be able to fix the media, but she has just, even if she loses, that ad and that pillar of her campaign has took a serious piece of the Jenga board out of the main narrative, which is like, my mission in life is to just say, okay, come on. We do this because we need to take this narrative away from mass media cartels. And here is someone who has a career in it, an expert in it, who left it when she saw it weaponized against the people that she's on camera talking to, and then says, you know what, you guys are right. After a little bit of poking and prodding, I'm going to do it. I'm going to run. And here she is, not softballing any of this stuff. I mean, I'm a little worried. She even put that piece out where, Clinton was saying, talking trash about her. And she said, my brakes are fine. I'm not depressed. I'm not going to kill myself. Like, that means to me, she recognizes the gravity of her situation and that the system knows that,
well, she does, but by the same token, she's also, she's confident enough to joke about it and carry that, like she can own it and carry it. And because I think she's got very strong personality, she speaks with confidence, and and I think she's probably faced quite a lot of adversity. It sounds like, because you don't get, I think she's quite capable. Actually, she can stand up to people and stand up to machines, and I think that's the new face of the Republican Party right there. And just like Tulsi Gabbard, will may be a Republican in not so long in the future. She might defect, but that type of a female politician that speaks with confidence, conviction, has a sort of deeper tone to their voice, and they're not trying to play the female card. They're not. What's impressive about these types of politicians is that they're not playing the gender card. They're not playing the race card. They're just playing like, this is me. These are my issues. This is what I believe in, and we're going to get it done. And that's a big break in terms of political leadership than pretty much 90% of the rest of the field. So that's why the appeal's there. That's why Tulsi Gabbard has gone and campaigned for Republican governors all over the country in the last 3 weeks. I went to one of them in Arizona when she stumped for Carrie Lake. But I mean, who does that? Left the Democratic Party. She's going around campaigning for female governor candidates like Kristi Noem, Carrie Lake, and a couple of others. But because Tulsi has broad appeal, she appeals to men, women, Democrats, independents, centrists, Republicans. Nobody has that sort of broad-based appeal. Carrie Lake has got very similar broad-based appeal, although more to the right, arguably, but still pretty broad-based. You know, when she speaks, it resonates with a lot of people, including Democrat women. And I think the establishment knows this, and they're worried. They're worried because the Tiffany Smiley, that woman in Washington, my goodness, talk about impressive. She's like out there, she's ready to work. And this other Patty Murray's been sitting on her behind she's been in there since before electricity. You know,
yes,
totally entitled. Tiffany Smiley, again, a citizen politician, stepping up. She wants to solve the homeless problem. She's going to do it. I guarantee you. I don't know if she'll win, but she will do it if she won. If she's given the chance, I have 100% confidence that she would do it in the Washington race. So that type of politician, very strong, and that's the new face of the Republican Party, is people that get stuff done.
Yeah. People are starting to realize, they're like, wait a minute. You know, a lot of my guests that have been talking about the tickets, you know, and all this stuff, a lot of them are kind of on the same page we've been on for a long time, where it's like, okay, well, we need to change this leadership, but then we have to make sure that the people that come in on the Republican side actually do what they're supposed to do. That they're starting to realize that the rhino infection on Capitol Hill has really, really held back the Republican Party, and they're realizing that the GOP is not doing its job in a lot of the states. Like, if the GOP was doing its job properly in places like Pennsylvania and Georgia and Arizona, these things wouldn't be happening, number one. Or if they were happening, the candidates would be on Fox or some mainstream or on their own website saying, hey, our election's being stolen from us right now. Here's the evidence. You know, here's what we're looking at. No more of this like, oh, well, we just got to hope the vote goes through, and then we'll work the legal process over the next couple of years. And we're already on to the next set of elections, and we haven't even shored up the last ones. We don't even fully know what happened in the last ones. It's just like, you know, it becomes a cycle. So I don't know, man. I don't know. It's
well, that metamorphosis, the Republican Party began. It became visible with the Tea Party movement, and that was spurred by the Obama's presidency. Created the Tea Party movement. They sort of hijacked the name off the back of the Ron Paul revolution. Okay, whatever, but it sort of developed into its own kind of multi-chapter, you know, nationwide grassroots, kind of more radical wing of the Republican Party. And then what was left after it sort of dissipated with Trump, because there was no need for it anymore, but into the Freedom Caucus and things like, there's some remnants of it, but they identified immediately who the enemies were, and they kind of really brought that term rhino and really gave it some weight. And they were going after John McCain. Look at John McCain. Trump could have repealed Obamacare and totally overhauled that in potentially a better way. And John McCain deep sixed it, just him, you see. So that guy was unbelievable. He was the king of the rhinos, McCain. You know, and his brand was, I'm going to reach across the aisle. I'm going to, you know, he was part of the neoliberal establishment, and then he was the neocon vanguard for foreign policy.
Right.
So, I mean, but that's exactly the problem with Washington in one man. And Tea Party understood that. So those roots have gone in, and that was the groundwork for the Trump movement, was the Tea Party. Now the Trump movement has put its roots down, and now you're seeing this different brand of politician, populist politicians sprouting up everywhere. And it's not that they're populist in the Boss Tweed sense, or the Huey Kingfish Long, that sort of textbook populism. This is something totally different. There's a lot of people that I think genuinely want to serve their state in their country, and they want to actually get things done. They really recognize that a lot of things are really going in a disastrous direction at home and abroad. Very real. So this is a different type of a populist candidate. So this is, I think we're in like very interesting territory if we can survive these elections. This is the problem.
Right. What do you think, Infidel? Are we going to survive these elections? Are we going to see mostly peaceful protests because of a red wave, or are we going to see MAGA terrorists mad in the streets? I mean, how are they going to spin this? What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we'll see if it's a red wave or not. I'm still like, observing. For definitely they will pick up the House, and I think the Senate will be close, maybe like 52 or 53. And then we'll see the governor's standpoint. Definitely, I think that my hope was Mastrano in Pennsylvania and Kerry Lake in Arizona, because those are two things that that needed really like good governor. And Mastrano was a big piece of the actually exposing what happened in 2020.
Yep.
But I don't know if that's going to happen or not. I think Mastrano, they already called Pennsylvania to Shapiro.
Yeah. Lake has still got a chance because Katie Hobbs has a lead based on, I think, mail-in ballots that have been counted.
Yeah.
So poll returns haven't come in yet. Still early.
Yeah.
But
the Michigan one is interesting too, like, between Whitmore and Dixon.
Yeah, how's that going? Is that close? That's right.
It's, I think right now it's at 32%, was 55-42.
Okay, still fairly close.
It is, yeah. They didn't definitely call it. And the interesting one was New York.
Yeah, I was just about to ask, what's the status on New York, man?
It's what Hochul. Is it name Hochul or Hochul? What's her last name?
Hochul. Yeah,
Hochul,
not that it matters, but
yeah, she's 55.7 and Zildjian is 44.23 at 71% reporting. They said they didn't call it, which is, on its own is a good thing for New York. Right?
Yeah, I thought they would have called that already, but if they haven't called it, that's interesting.
And what about the other side of the country? What about California? Is that all called and signed and sealed?
I think so.
Well, California, it's the congressional races that there's a few flips on the congressional side there. They have a pretty substantial lead in the House, but there's a potentially some contested districts there.
Yeah, it's still pretty early. Nothing has been called yet in California.
Okay, all right. I had Mark Messer on the show, who's running for Senate.
How's he doing?
Well, just judging from the most recent polls, it wasn't great, but I'm not sure what the real time is on that one.
So California, okay.
Yeah, I mean that's tough in California. We had a number of good candidates out there too. We had Mark, we had Joe Collins for Congress, a couple other guys that came on the show for Congress and various other local seats. A lot of good candidates out there at the grassroots level for sure.
Yeah, Mark, he's projected to lose, but I only see 13% of the votes in at the moment because they're Pacific time zone, so it's still very early. But he would be behind because of the mail-in ballot differential.
Yes,
but he could come back. He could make a run there. But yeah, there's a lot of good. I mean, California has a lot of good conservative congressional seats, and I think those will increase because again, this agenda is not. People do not like to be locked in their houses and forced to take experimental pharmaceutical products and then watching their governor gloat about it. I mean, there's not a broad appeal for that. The media likes it, the elites like it. But generally, the people aren't going to like it. If they're offered a choice between that and something else, they're going to most people are going to want something else. So the days are numbered for the Newsoms of the world, even in California. But California is an incredibly compliant, brainwashed society. It's sadly,
Yeah.
but that said, it has some of the strongest conservative veins running through it in the country.
Oh yeah, I got a great example. I had city attorney from Huntington Beach on the show, and that's actually an elected position. Not all of the townships or cities, whatever, in California elect their city attorney, but in Huntington Beach they do elect their city attorney, and his name is Michael Gates. And Michael Gates was talking about how when Gavin Newsom did all this lockdown stuff, how since Huntington Beach has their own city attorney, an elected official again, they're able to take the if the council approves it, if city council approves it, they're able to actually sue or vote to allow the city attorney to sue the governor or Sacramento or whatever, so that they can reopen their beaches, right? Because they said governor said we're closing your beaches down, but the police were like, I don't know if we're going to actually police that. And the city council, I think it was the city council, said, yes, our city attorney is going to sue for that because this is our beach. This is this is our beach. You can't just tell people that they can't go to the beach. And that actually worked. They were able to reopen their beach. So I think that's a good example of why people in places like California are starting to realize, wait a minute. So if our city council's corrupt and we have an appointed city attorney, we have no way to free up our land that's been locked down or our money that's been stolen. He also just won a lawsuit for Huntington Beach, and he recovered $5 million worth of taxpayer money that was sitting in the cookie jar in Sacramento. And he's working on freeing up another $22 million. So this guy, he will have actually, if that happens, he will have brought $30 million back into his community, and his city law office that he's elected in charge of has saved, it's ostensibly kind of like shown the Gavin Newsom and the government there that, hey, we as this town are not going to put up with that. We're taking our beach back. We're taking our money back. So I think people are starting to realize the system, how that all works, and where they're vulnerable and where they can have a win against a micro tyrant clamoring to be a macro tyrant like Gavin the nuisance.
Yeah, gelhead.
Right,
Yeah.
motor oil.
He wants to be president so bad.
Yeah,
so bad.
Pelosi's nephew. Did you know that?
What?
I'm told that
Oh,
Gavin
God.
Newsom is a family relation to Pelosi.
By marriage or birth? Oh my God! No,
I don't even. Yeah, oof.
That's pretty
Let's not climb
scary.
that family tree.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, that guy. Scary. What a charlatan. I mean, terrible.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so California, yep, definitely. We got Amy in the chat says big contrast. A lot of people at the beach during COVID. That's cool. It's good that we got politicians out there in some places that are supporting people getting out to the beach and not letting people put sand in skate parks. What a joke. What a
Oh
joke.
my God.
Oh my goodness. Patrick, we had a question for you earlier here from Carol. Patrick, please, can you explain the House and Senate to me? UK citizen here. Thanks.
So yeah, we have a bicameral legislative branch, Congress. It's got a House and a Senate. If you're in Britain, this is the same, more or less the same representation as having a House of Commons and a House of Lords. So just think of the U.S. Senate as the House of Lords for America, but rather than appointed hereditary peerage, they're actually elected. So it's general. Going back in history, the Senate would represent the gentry. I'm just speaking more broadly, with the landowners, the gentry, the merchant class, perhaps, and the commons represents more broad-based population. So it's getting the balance of interest right. So the House of Commons in Britain, the MPs will be allocated based on what districts they represent, based on population. Same in the U.S. Congress, all across the country, and the Senate will be assigned 2 senators per state. And regardless of the size of the state, so Rhode Island's less than the size of Wales, with almost nothing of a significant population, maybe a few 100,000 people or whatever. They get 2 senators, and California has 35 million people. They get 2 senators as well. So what the Senate allows small states to have their voice represented and heard in Washington on equal footing in the Senate as big states. And why is this important? Not as much for domestic matters these days, but in terms of foreign policy. So that ensures that small states will be able to have a platform in Washington about big decisions that are going to be made that would affect the whole country. So Senate's campaign on national issues generally, they're not as involved in their own state's issues per se. Whereas a congressman would be, but still in the Congress are also on national policy and voting on national legislation and things like that. So yeah, and then we have an executive branch in America. That's the other branch of a government that you don't have in the UK. You don't have an executive branch, although Tony Blair has worked tirelessly during his premiership to devolve more and more power to the premiership, that they are acting like executives. So the prime minister's acting like presidents, and you see that with Boris Johnson and David Cameron and everybody. So they're trying to be more presidential, but without having an executive branch. But that's the checks and balances: executive branch, Senate, House, and then the judicial branch as the other final branch of government. So 3 branches of government. One of them, legislative branch, has two chambers, the House and the Senate, just like British Parliament has a Commons and the Lords.
There you go. There you go. Thanks, Patrick. Well, it looks like they just called New York. We got news. We got breaking news here. Hochul beats Zeldin in election to lead Empire State out of Fox News here. So they just called that one on us.
Lead them into a black hole.
Yeah.
She's a lunatic.
She is horrible, man. Like, I listen to her. It's insane.
She called a state of emergency because there was one suspected case of polio because they PCR'd some wastewater.
Isn't that amazing?
I mean, she's a lunatic, like a real nut job. She would never even have a shot if not for the fact that Andrew Cuomo was such a train wreck that he literally got kicked out halfway through his term, and they appointed her to take his place. And so she got to ride in midstream. So half her inertia is from the fact that she was just appointed into the office, and that was her advantage. If she was a nobody that wasn't sitting in Cuomo's thing and lapping up all the media coverage, the free PR that you get by being the interim governor, I don't even think she would have shown up in the primaries as a Democrat. I mean, she's so ghastly, like
she
as
really
a person,
Oh, those comments she made recently, I just played them on my TNT show earlier today. The comments about being apostles for the experimental shots or something like that. I mean, she went all like weird religious, like zealot, like we've made a lot of COVIDian cult jokes and stuff, but I mean, she just walked right into that one. She's just wearing it on her sleeve proudly.
And she denied inflation. She's denying crime, saying, "Oh, crime's not a problem. It's just a Republican talking point." Right.
You see that? Go ahead.
It's interesting because, I'm looking at some of the things that was in the ballot for New York today. One of it was basically proposal 1, which is called issue climate change bonds.
Oh gosh.
And what it is basically they voted 74 yes to also known as Clean Water, Clean Air and Green Job Environment Bond Act of 2022 would allow for a sale of $4.2 billion in state bonds for climate change mitigation.
Oh no.
So the majority of New Yorkers voted for that.
Disaster.
Wow.
Disaster. Well, they're just trying to basically print up money out of thin air for green people who are into the green business. Basically, that's who's going to make it.
That's exactly what it is.
They make a fortune out of that. If you're connected and you know where to park your money, that's what the Democrats have been great at with this whole green thing, is that the Democrats with money have been able, Tom Steyer's of the world and everybody downwind from him in their pyramid marketing scheme of green jobs and Green New Deal stuff. They all know where to park their money and get a return and then pull out before the thing collapses. Like Al Gore's the king of that, by the way. He's made so much damn money out of all this stuff he's been hyping, but he always pulls out before the market collapses.
Right.
Like, knows when to cash out. I mean, he's a genius. Knows how to turn a buck. Al Gore can turn a buck like nobody. Like that guy. That's why he's not in politics. He's doing so well outside of politics.
Yeah.
If you guys are aware, in Egypt right now, the climate conference is happening. And I just saw an image of John Kerry like shaking hand with Venezuela Maduro, which is really interesting to see the change in dynamics.
Oh yeah, I think Greta's there. Is Greta there?
I assume so. Actually, Nancy flew there to Egypt. Just flew to Egypt.
Probably to meet with to get the photo op with Greta. Probably.
Probably, yeah.
Trying to get her photos, get her Instagram, charge up her Instagram account. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, yeah. Rishi Sunak, like he said, "Oh, I'm not going to COP," and then all of a sudden he's at COP. I mean, what a what a tool! It's like,
yeah,
yeah, it's a joke. It's a joke. Yeah.
Oh, totally.
Good for Egypt though. Take that money.
Like, yeah, really.
They're coming in there to dump some money in Egypt. I'd take it. Yeah, host the.
I know exactly right. Host it.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think Egypt's particularly concerned with getting on the climate bandwagon. I don't think they're. I don't see them. That's not a big priority for them.
Not a incredibly popular or necessary idea, I'm guessing.
It is not now, especially like country like Egypt with a lot of like pollution and you know bad practices.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's the same like China holding that that conference, right?
Right.
Yeah, Cairo is probably one of the top 5 polluted cities in the world.
Exactly.
Probably,
right? I heard Greta was trying to co-opt the term greenwashing also, and sort of like do a softball pitch as to what greenwashing really means, and accuse like, I almost got the impression she was accusing like the UN agendas of greenwashing. Like, so what? So the radicalist, you know, Extinction Rebellion and Just Stop Oil are the true. I almost see like a brand shift here, like sort of that UN Agenda 21 2030 sort of green New Deal thing kind of didn't really work out that well. So they let Greta grow up a couple years into adulthood while we all experienced lockdown, and now she's going to come out and be like, oh yeah, those other programs I discovered, they're just greenwashing stuff. Ahem. So come on over here to Just Stop Oil and XR maybe. You think I'm onto something there, Patrick, or am I going a little too far there?
I don't know. The trajectory, the evolution of Greta Thunberg, nobody knows where that's going to end up. I mean, I think she'll probably do a stint as a sort of communist international revolutionary in her sort of mid-20s, probably to her mid-30s, and then she'll pivot into something else. She'll probably end up being a conservative by the time she's 40.
Yeah. Like a Bernie style conservative, maybe.
I don't know. Who knows? I know, but she's, you know, when she realizes that her parents stole her childhood from her, that and she's been used as a mascot for a globalist agenda, she'll eventually cop on because she's not stupid, she's smart, and then she'll rebel. Maybe she'll be an anarchist for a few years, or join a punk band, or who knows, date a rock star, you know, like a Pete Doherty type, some wrong end. Who knows? But yeah, her trajectory will be interesting. Definitely, Greta has a few surprises up her sleeve, I predict.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe we'll see her marry David Hogg, and they'll both become like some other incarnation, some weird anti-capitalist punk rockers or something like that. I don't know. Carol's pointing out that Greta wants to get rid of capitalism now in the chat. I saw that too. Yeah, so that fits right in.
Yeah,
with
there
what
you
you're
go.
saying.
Communist revolutionary. She's getting
Yep.
ready. She'll try that one on for a few years, right?
Yes.
she get tired of eating ramen noodles and not
yeah.
showering or bathing for a week, 2
Right.
weeks. And it gets old after a while.
Absolutely.
Hey, did you guys see this link I just posted from Reuters?
Oh, what do you got there? Let me check it out.
In the chat.
What do we got? Sean.
Something
And
funny
no,
for ends of the-
what is Sean Penn doing now? Again, he's gone back.
He's given Zelensky his Oscar award.
Yep, that's it. That's it.
Zelensky's just got to keep. I'd be careful. Zelensky will melt that shit down and sell
I'm not
it.
gonna give it back to him, man.
He's gonna,
Yeah, really.
like,
Why do you
do
loan it?
Yeah, it'll be like, oh, I thought that was a gift. And Sean's like, no, I need it back. And Zelensky, I thought it was a gift. You can't do. I'm going to lose face. You can't have it back. Sean doesn't understand the rules.
Oh boy.
Yeah, he's going to be in for a rude awakening there. Yeah,
it's interesting though the push that they are trying to do for the war in Ukraine before the midterm election.
Oh, big time! You saw that too. Big push to make it look good.
Well, I don't know if it's to make it look good as much as they don't know if there was a change in the chambers that they would get the support they wanted to get. So they try to push as much money as possible. I think that's what it is.
Yeah. They tried to push the money through because the Republicans are making noises like there's not going to be a blank check after the election. Yeah. It was also to make it look extra good so that it wasn't used as a weak point that people could use to criticize Democrats before the midterms or Biden.
Yeah.
So they did overdo the kind of Ukraine's winning thing, just to create a buffer zone there so there's not a backlash before the election. But afterwards, when they throw Biden under the bus, I'm afraid Zelensky's going to get caught in that undertow as
absolutely.
well. So they got problems ahead for Ukraine. And it depends how big. If the Republicans take the Senate, then if Mitch McConnell gets booted as leader, very possible. And then who becomes the big voices in the U.S. Senate are going to be guys like Rand Paul, guys like Mike Lee, guys like Johnson from Wisconsin, Ron Johnson. These guys, they're not into the whole Ukrainian thing at all. They're not into it at all. They don't want to give our money away to this corrupt cesspit of a government in Kiev. Nope, not appealing at all. We got problems at home, got homeless problems, got all sorts of problems in America. And we're given what, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 100 billion. Biden's pledged over 100 billion for the rest of his term, essentially pledged 100 billion for Ukraine.
Yeah.
Like what do you realize what that money could do?
Oh, it's just amazing.
I mean, in this country,
yeah,
for America, it could end homelessness in America, Europe, and the UK.
Yeah,
right,
and Canada. Let's give aid to Canada. Let's do that instead. Instead, the money's not going to get. It's not productive cash in Ukraine. It's not going to change the outcome of that conflict at all. It's not. They're lost. It's a devastating loss for Ukraine. It's just they're just basically going to siphon out everything. Most of it goes to our defense contractors anyway. That's where most of it ends up, to our firms. It's corporate welfare, and what's left, it's going to get shared amongst the Ukrainian oligarchy and all the various hangers-on and little fiefdoms.
Right.
And end up in Switzerland and Cyprus and London, city of London, and who knows, a couple of American banks. That's where the money's going to end up.
And the military hardware, only 30% of it, by our own DoD's admission, only 30% of it's actually landing where we're told it's landing. The rest of it, they say, in their own words, disappears into a black hole. whatever that means.
Good money spent. Good investment.
Yeah.
Good investment. Yeah. So
Great
yeah,
job, guys.
they're just draining the coffers. They're draining it. So yeah, somebody's got to get. Rand Paul wanted to audit every penny of it, and I think that's the way to go.
Yeah.
I mean, and if you start auditing it, then you're going to basically, that means the funding is going to end up getting cut. So that's the first step to cutting it, is auditing it. So
Right.
it's a nice politically correct way in Washington of scaling the war down. We're going to audit. So yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
From the Senate leadership standpoint, just since you guys mentioned that, what's been floating around is actually Josh Hawley wants to run for that.
So really, wow, that's interesting. Josh Hawley is a badass.
Yeah, they were. Here, I'll post an article from.
That's interesting. I wonder who else might be in that conversation.
They were floating his name and Rick Scott name.
Rick Scott. Wow.
Okay.
That's interesting. That surprised me. It's funny. Lindsey Graham's not in the conversation, is he?
No, because Lindsey doesn't represent the new, really wing of that party, right?
Yeah, and Mitt Romney's not in that conversation either, is he?
If they are putting Mitch, for sure, they're not going to get one of the old rhinos.
Yeah. I mean, that's interesting. If Josh Hawley made a play, he's young, he's really sharp. I mean, that guy can kick ass and take names. I've seen him work on the big tech thing, and you do not want to go up against him. He's very strong on the constitutional issues. I think his foreign policy is more of a common sense one. He does seem to kind of veer into that sort of common sense zone on foreign policy. So that's huge. Mitch McConnell is just a swamp creature. Like, he is in the dictionary, swamp. He's right there in the definition, right there. Terrible. Terrible.
Yeah, Howley, it says on this article here, Howley told a gaggle of reporters that he prefers a fresh face for leaders, citing disagreements with McConnell on funding Ukraine's defense against Russia and spending legislation. So,
boom, God,
there it is.
Gotta love it straight away. Listen, Missouri is one of those really important states. Like, Arizona could be that state too, but we've got a machine issue here. But I'm not talking about the voting machines. I'm talking about the machine. But yeah, Missouri, that their potential real stronghold for common sense thinking politically. So, that would be interesting. That would be interesting. Wow, the Democrats should be scared of that.
Yep, that would be a problem for them.
Big problem. Big problem. They're expecting Patrick Leahy, or they'd love to have Richard Shelby or someone else, or Mitt Romney, right? That's the sort of people that the establishment want in there. Those guys.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think Imhoff is out. He retired. I think he's gone. That's that extra seat. Susan Collins, that's a non-starter from Maine. She's terrible. John Cornyn, oh gosh, no way. He's the gun law guy. Red flag man.
Yeah.
So
that's a sad. Yeah, that's a sad fact of things that are going to be happening in New York too. New York has been abusing their red flag laws, and unfortunately, because Hochul, it almost sounds like you're coughing something up when you say her name. It seems like that particular machine is not going to go anywhere, and they're going to probably continue abusing that unconstitutional loophole. Boy, they talk about loopholes, they make their own, and then they just abuse the crap out of it. It's literally hundreds of people who have been cited with these red flag things with no proceedings whatsoever.
Tim Scott, interesting. But Rand Paul I could see him getting a look in. Marco Rubio is, again, he's in that Lindsey Graham category.
He is, absolutely is. I don't think people label him as one of those new Republican Party.
Ted Cruz is interesting, just because he's a really good orator, and a good debater, and he's a good strategist. But I don't know if he's got that leadership ability that's going to take to make that work. Tom Cotton, he's an interesting one. Again, kind of younger, right? Up and coming, they could say. Seems to have a lot of, but yeah, that's more of a hardcore foreign policy. He's more pro-war. But yeah, it'd be nice to see Josh Hawley make a run for that. I think that would be interesting.
Yeah, that would definitely shake things up a little bit. It'd be a better look. It'd be a better look for all the damaged brands inside the GOP.
Oh gosh, it'd be like night and day. Just pretty much anybody's a better look than Mitch McConnell, almost.
Yeah,
yeah. Like I was going to make a joke for Ted Cruz not being able to take that because of his face, and then I realized about Mitch McConnell. So I'm like,
he's a turtle. He's the human turtle.
Yes.
So yeah, I know. God, terrible, absolutely terrible. Well, there's hope there. Maybe, who knows?
Yeah.
So yeah, close contest. Walker Warnock, that's tight. Oz Fetterman's tightened up. That's pretty tight. Some tight races there, guys.
Neck and neck, particularly in Fetterman's
I
case.
can't believe Fetterman is actually doing that good, man. I'm actually surprised he's doing that good. It's amazing that people are voting to like.
It's really sad.
It's really bad.
This really
people
bad.
Even vote like 2 million people voted for him so far.
That should people don't care. They don't care. They don't care if the person's can't even like brush their teeth or walk and chew gum. That's so pathetic. That's a low point in the democracy. That someone with brain damage, people will push him over the finish line just because they think he'll rubber stamp the Biden agenda or whatever. That's sad.
It is. It's exploitative, and it feels expletive. I don't know how.
but they had another candidate in the primaries.
Mm-hmm.
They could have backed him. He'd probably do better than Fetterman.
Yeah.
But they had it all. They invested so much in Fetterman building up his brand over the years. They felt they had to cash it in. And so cynical what they did. He shouldn't even have been in the party should have told him to sit down.
Right.
But what he's going to do, he's going to go in and then he's going to bow out for medical reasons. And then he's going to put his wife forward, and they're going to do, it's going to be his wife. And so what they're going to have one of those kind of emergency elections or whatever. And then all the sympathy will be with him, and the drama, the health challenge, and the wife will be there, and it'll be all inspirational.
It's like the McCain when her husband died.
Yeah,
they do the same with her, Cindy McCain.
Something like that. Yeah. It's just going to be. I'm not looking forward to that. I don't
so,
know.
guys, I have a question for you. Based on the results tonight, like what you're seeing, how tight things are, do you think actually Trump even have a chance in 2024?
Yeah, I think so. I think if they fix up the election holes in some of these key swing states with all the leakage, I think Trump would definitely be a favorite. I would bet on him to win. Because he increased his appeal from 2016 to 2020, and I would imagine he's going to increase it even more in 2024. So I wouldn't bet against him. Let's just put it that way. Like, I don't see anybody else that can command the electorate. Like, so he is absolutely a pure populist, once in a generation. Pure populist, and he can move crowds like nobody. DeSantis isn't even in the same league. So it's like the only debate at that point is who's his vice presidential candidate going to be, and and is that going to work? So yeah, and he can pretty much pick whoever he wants to be his VP. and they're a lock for the GOP nomination in 2028. Whoever Trump picks for his VP will be the heir apparent for the next term. So it'll be like Reagan, Bush in reverse, one term and then two. So that could be Ron DeSantis. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he would do something shrewd like select Tulsi Gabbard, because mathematically that would be the cinch, because you'd pull independents, libertarians, Democrats over white suburban women. I mean, mathematically that would be checkmate.
It would
Tulsi
be.
Gabbard. Yeah,
Do you
I mean,
think she would run with him?
yeah, maybe she would. It could be a good influence on him. Who knows? But mathematically, that would be a very sound pick, and she has a very good background, and people, I would trust her as a chief executive. At the very least, she will be Secretary of State or something like that.
Yeah.
Under a Trump administration, so she may go Republican. But even as an independent, she's still got the trust of a lot of the Republican base, and the Trump base trust her, you see. So if she appeared in the cabinet or as a VP pick, immediately she'd have support immediately. So there's no question. But would he want to cultivate more of a Republican person on that ticket? That's the question. So Carrie Lake, if she won the governor's race, I would say she'd be in there as a VP top 3.
That would be
Guaranteed.
interesting.
She has to win, though. She has to win her race.
Yeah, right. Like if it tanks, then the momentum kind of is going to crash here. But if she wins that, oh boy, watch out. That could be a runaway freight train of populism right there. Oh my gosh, watch out,
Yeah,
mass media.
yeah, and if she loses or it's stolen from her, she will run against Kristen Sinema for the next Senate seat, and that's coming up.
Mhm.
Okay, so I she'd be right in there. So
Yeah.
defeated now under spurious circumstances. She's got a story, a redemption story, and she's already got a base. She's got a campaign, and it's impressive. Her campaign is impressive. Like she'll steamroll Kirsten Sinema. Steamroller. I probably, so it's not over for Carrie Lake, even if she gets screwed out of this one.
Yeah.
It's not over. It's not over.
No, she definitely has a career. She's here to
Yeah.
stay.
I mean, I was looking into the final rally that she had. I guess it was last night, and they were comparing. I was kind of just like looking at this article where it was comparing like what her last 2 days before today were like as to what's her opponent's name? I forget. Another H.
It's easy to forget. Katie Hobbs, the psychotic librarian.
Right. So psychotic librarian Hobbs, well, she just focused on doing some door-to-doors and like had one final event, and her final event, you didn't know where it was until you like paid and signed up, and then you'd get a message telling you where to go. Whereas Kari Lakes was just like big open invite. They had a band there. They had just like this crazy upbeat crowd, and you compare like that's a really good comparison because we saw the same thing. The same treatment when you had Obama and Biden, or was it Biden Harris there for Fetterman stumping for him? They show the giant stadium, and there's just a small number of people packed in front of the stage, and then you look at a Trump event or a Kari Lake event, and they're just like it's a good time. You can see people having fun. They're jam packed in there. It's open invite. I mean, it's a completely different look, a completely different vibe. It takes us all the way back to Biden's so-called campaign for president, where they'd like wheel him out on a outdoor movie theater stage with some cars out there honking. Like it kind of reminded me of that,
Yeah, no, I went to a Carrie Lake event, and it was open. Like you could just show up, and in a very public, on a main road, big sound stage, just rock star. Sat down and held court for a half hour, do Q&A with Tulsi Gabbard. I mean, like who does that on the cuff, off the cuff, like unrehearsed? So Masters was there, Blake Masters, and they have Abe Hamadeh, the AG guy who's really good. Yeah, 1,000, couple thousand. I mean, she's pulling crowds. No one's pulled crowds for a governor's race here ever like this. Like it's unprecedented. No one's seen anything like it. Like
Mhm.
no one could move crowds like that. I mean, very impressive. So but it's a machine. You're up against a literal machine, and it's a big thing to overcome. The demographics have changed in Arizona over the last 10 to 15 years. It is very much a half red, half blue state now because of Phoenix, because of Arizona State University. That's 45,000 students, right in the middle of Phoenix, mostly from a lot from out of state. Pretty much Democrat, super majority Democrat student voting there. That's a major block within the setup, and they do very well to activate and get out their vote campaigns, and they're good on their sort of Obama community organizing networking. So the Democrats have a good edge on that, but the Republicans are coming. They're kind of coming into their own on that sort of big data driven get out the vote thing. They're taking it more seriously. I saw a lot of young people at Kerry Lake's event, a lot of young people. But the problem is that there was a lot of young successful people at Kerry Lake's event. The Democrats, that's not a requirement. So they'll just harvest votes wherever they can get them, and ideally from the people that are unemployed on some kind of entitlement, because that's who the Democrats market to, and then they market spending entitlements for those voters, and that's how that's half of their sort of appeal. That's their that's their business basically. It's government run patronage for voting blocks. It's the total opposite of the Republican conservative worldview and strategy, which is try to increase wealth and employment and lower taxes and stimulate growth. The Democrats are the total opposite. They go to the gutter first, and that's where that's where they get their numbers from. It's just like it's a totally and so it's a very difficult challenge.
Yeah.
It's a very difficult challenge.
It's also backwards too, it goes back to like sending all this stuff out and then waiting to count everything. It's just it's all so much. So much. It looks like Ruckus is back. Ruckus, welcome back. How was Joseph Arthur and his Technicolor Dreamcast over at TNT tonight?
Quick. I'm surprised you guys are still here doing this.
I gotta sign off, guys.
All right. Well, thanks for being here tonight, Patrick. So much going on, and we'll look forward to doing this again. I think these discussions are going to be ongoing between ACR, 21 Wire, and TNT for a number of days, maybe weeks.
For sure. Well, hopefully not weeks.
Yeah.
But it might be. But anyway, good to catch up with Infidel and Ruckus and Hesher, Spore, everybody. Nice to see you all, guys.
All right.
Nice talking to you, Patrick.
All right.
All right. We'll see you later, Patrick. Keep up the good work. We'll talk to you soon.
See you soon. Bye.
All right. There he goes, everybody. Patrick Henningsen was with us. And Ruckus, you might be here just in time for shutdown. So
I
tell you what,
Patrick away.
So something interesting is happening. I think I'm just watching Lee Zeldin. He just came out and he's not conceding yet. He said until all the votes are counted, because there is a lot of votes coming for us, and those 1.4 million that are not counted in election day yet.
So Lee Zeldin is saying, no, I'm not accepting this closing of the voting here.
Not yet.
Interesting.
Did you guys get some updates on the election results just recently?
We've been looking at a little bit of them. What about you? You seen anything?
I'm on Epoch Times, their coverage. They have like an interactive map on their website. So I was looking at the map for the House results. Looks very red. There's definitely a red wave there. Looks good. The Senate and the governors are like pretty much neck and neck here. And me, Joseph, and Karen were paying attention to Arizona just a couple minutes ago here. So it looks like 54% in of votes counted thus far, showing Katie Hobbs with a nice lead there on 56% and Kerry Lake at 43%. So, but I thought you would like to hear this, Hesher. You need to sit down, buddy.
All right. I need to sit down anyways.
Have you heard the word about what's going to happen to gruesome Newsom?
Does this have to do with him not being eligible because of his taxes, or is this something else?
He's this is part of the election. His seat is up for he's up against Brian. No one even knows who this guy is or how to pronounce his name.
Deal. I think
right?
it's Deal. Actually, we had Mike Netter on my show. Mike actually knows him, and he's going to be on my show tomorrow. So yeah, what's the deal there? I thought the deal with Deal was that he was no deal, no big deal at all, and that Newsom had it in the bag.
60% right now for Gavin Newsom, only 39% for Brian Dale. But this is interesting. They're estimating there's only 22% of the votes in.
So, really? Only 22 in. Okay. Well, I mean, they're a little further back in time zones, but that seems low. That seems kind of low.
It does, especially of all of them. That's the one that stands out because we have, I mean, look at, my state. Oh, great. There's the update. Ugh. Darn it. All right. But there's 93% votes in my state, and the sitting Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham looks like she's going to keep it. I'm not getting the weatherman to replace her. Bummer.
Dang.
Dixon also came out and she said, like, because Fox News called it to Whitmore, and there's still a lot of votes out there, and it's like 70,000 votes. And she just came out also and said, like, there's still a lot of votes out there. I'm not conceding now.
Smart. Because they're telling us it could take days or weeks. Why would you concede right now? Like, it's just like, why are they calling some places? They're calling places where it's Democrats and not Republicans. Is that what they're doing here? They're kind of setting up that, like, where we're going to leave it tonight sort of factor. Pick it up in the morning. Pick it up 2 days from now, a week from now.
And thus far, Hesher, it looks like no Beto for you. So,
yep, no Beto. We Texas has said no. Doesn't look like that's going to happen.
Call.
Yeah. Try again, Beto. Bring a better skateboard next time. Not having it.
And Texas looks pretty red for the House. And let's see what's going on. No results for Senate.
Okay. Well, so much for the purpling of Texas. I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's manifesting yet. We shall see. I see the purple in the hair of the people out here sometimes, but I'm not seeing it on the voting map here so far.
Not yet.
You had a guest on your TNT show this morning, Hesher, I think, who said something to the effect of when he sees new people in Texas, he asks them immediately, what part of California are you from?
Yes. Yeah, that was great. That was Richard Battle. Richard Battle is pretty cool. I like that guy. His book is called Made in America by Americans, not Americants. Good stuff. Yeah, so tomorrow we'll have Mike Netter on. And folks, if you don't know who Mike Netter is one of the guys that was heading up the Gavin Newsom recall in California. He's highly dialed in to what's going on in California. He knows pretty much everyone out there. So he'll be there giving us an update in the third hour of my show tomorrow on TNT. And that third hour is now at 11 a.m. Central. So show starts at 9 and goes to noon. That's Central Time, of course. Do your own math from there, or we'll all get confused. We don't want that.
Central Standard Time.
Central Standard Time, right. Right. Not to be confused with any other Central Daylight Times or anything like that. Okay, well, let's see here. I'm about done, you guys. What about you, Infidel? You got anything else you want to throw out there before we close this out tonight?
No, I mean, I think I'm okay. It's gonna go. It's we're not as we expected. We're not gonna tonight, right? That's a norm,
right?
Post 2020.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
All right. Well, Infidel, thank you for being here. And if anybody missed Infidel on my TNT show, go back to the archives and check it out. We had a great discussion over there. I had Daniel Spalding on that same day, and Ruckus was there doing the news break that day. So we had a very, very boiler room vibe show over that. That was last Friday's show over there at tntradio.live. You can check it out in the episodes. And let's see here. What else? What else? Infidel, yeah. Thanks for everything you do, man. Thanks for joining me on TNT last week, and thanks for being here tonight. And hopefully, we'll see you for Thursday's Boiler Room also.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, man, and thanks everybody. And just one last point is it's really like I don't like when people get discouraged of participating in elections, because at the end of the day, we have a system. We can make that system work. We need to get this election reforms to happen and secure our elections. And there is no way to do that if we don't have the right people. And those right people, as we mentioned earlier, start from your state representatives, start from your governors, even before Washington. That's where that reform happens. So please participate and let's take our republic back.
All right. Thanks, Infidel. Thanks, Infidel. Ruckus, over to you, man. Anything else you want to throw out there? Anything else you want to cover before we shut it down over here?
I suppose since it's the midterm election special and whatnot, I suppose we should do a quick update. I'm going to scroll through the headlines on Epoch Times midterm election coverage. So I'm not saying any of this is official. I'm just going based off of what they've been reporting across the last few hours to help us get caught up. And then we can follow up in our minds and, with the news tomorrow and see how many of these stuck. Florida's DeSantis defeats Democrat Crist to secure second term. Senator Rubio rolls to third term, dashing Demings, Florida. Upset bid. Democrat Attorney General Healy wins gubernatorial race in Massachusetts. Let's see. Republicans swept all 5 competitive U.S. House races in Florida. Maryland's Moore gives Democrats a gubernatorial win. So Maryland's got Democrat. Let's see. Florida Representative Matt Gaetz wins re-election to 4th term. Eric Schmidt wins race for U.S. Senate in Missouri. New Hampshire re-elects moderate GOP Governor Sununu. Democrat Representative Spanberger wins re-election in Virginia. Ocasio-Cortez sails to re-election. Let's see. Ohio's Marcy Kaptur wins House re-election bid. Keegans defeats Representative Luria as GOP gains House seat in Virginia. Republicans take back Metro Atlanta seat from the Democrats. J.D. Vance rides momentum to Ohio Senate race victory over Tim Ryan. Virginia Democrat Wexton secures re-election, defeating Navy vet Cow. And Democrat Hassan wins highly watched U.S. Senate race in New Hampshire. California Governor Newsom's re-election appears likely, and breaking hot right now, Hochul defeats Republican Zeldin in New York governor's race. There you have it, folks. Yeah. Let's see how much, if not every single one of those, flops and changes tomorrow. It's been an absolute pleasure being able to do this. This is one for the record books for sure. And it will probably be used as evidence against us when they're sending us to the gulag.
Probably, man. Probably. All right, Ruckus. Thanks, man. Great show. And we'll do it again real soon here. Before you know it, we'll be doing this again.
Yes, sir.
All right.
God willing, as they say.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. All right, everybody. Well, that's it for Ruckus and I, and for everybody, on behalf of everybody from Alternate Current Radio, 21 Wire, TNT, everybody involved. The Current Report. We had CC here. We had Spore. We had Infidel. On behalf of everybody, thanks for hanging with us tonight. YouTube. We'll see how that goes. And Rockfin, you know what's up. Spreaker. Hey, we're out there on Spreaker. AlternateCurrentRadio.com. That's where you find the show post for tonight's show. And that's it, everybody. We're out of here. We're going to do the thing and go do the other thing.
That's it. ahead and run. Run home and cry to mama.